Welcome to Cosmic Divide, episode number 46. My name is TMV, and today we're going to reveal some biases that we have deep in our soul. And so, because we're going to be mean to some of the teams, I thought, who's like the most vindictive, cruel, generally bad person that I know in the Valorant scene? But Sliggy wasn't available, so instead I went to the second best option, which is Sideshow. And so we are going to do this. There is a tier list here with different tiers, and we're going to rate all of your favorite VCT tier 1 teams on this list. And let me go through the list first of all here.
I'd just like to point out that I didn't have anything to do with making the tiers.
Yes, the tiers might confuse people a little bit, so let's take a bit of time to go through them. So what we're going to do is we're going to rate teams based on, we're going to reveal our bias, right? So sometimes when, people like Sideshow say that, for instance, DRG are not a mid F tier team, really that's coming from a place of hatred, right? He hates DRG and therefore he says that they're not very good. Well, in this tier list, we're already revealing how much we like a team or not, and then we're deciding whether they will overachieve or underachieve. So you're getting our views on whether we like the team or not, and then you'll see what we actually think in terms of how they'll do. Now, the different tiers. The top tier here is stealing children's milk from Thatcher's POV, right? Thatcher...
Oh, she loved that.
She loved stealing milk from children.
Absolute
favorite thing. Couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah.
So this is like you're absolutely in love with it, and then you've got overachieve and underachieve. The next one is a summer's breeze. Everyone likes a summer's breeze. I mean, yeah, everyone likes it, right? Like a nice thing. Then you've got Deck from Ant and Deck. Okay, now if you're not British, you probably don't know who Ant and Deck are.
But that's the thing. Even the British don't know which one is Ant and which one is Deck.
So it
doesn't matter.
But this is neutral. Exactly. This is complete neutral. And Deck from Ant and Deck, they're a hosting duo in the UK, who host various, kind of shows, talent shows and the like. And I just don't think...
I can give an analogy for the Valorant fans, if you like. It's like if me and Tombiz were a casting duo, and you couldn't tell them apart, you had no idea which one was which, and occasionally people would come up to me and be like, oh, Tombiz, love your work. It's the same kind of, they're inextricably linked. You always find them together, and yet you have no idea who is who.
Yes, so they're the neutral one, Decrement and Deck. Then a broken yoke, right? Which is something that I think most people would find displeasurable, but not a day ruiner, right? It's not going to ruin your complete day. But you
kill me.
Other than Sideshow, not a day ruiner, but a broken yoke. And then down at the bottom here, we got cereal with water. I mean, I couldn't think of anything. Like, does anyone in the world like cereal with water?
Does porridge count as cereal? Because there are definitely people who make porridge with water.
I'm saying porridge doesn't count. I'm saying, your traditional cereal with water. If anyone does like cereal with water, type that in the comments so that we can ban you and get you out of here and send you to a psychiatric hospital. So yeah, this is what we're going to do. I think let's just dive in because this might take a bit of time, right. and to decide, like, for instance, let's say I hate 100 Thieves, but Sideshow loves 100 Thieves because of his NA bias. What we will do is we will put them in whoever feels stronger, right? So if I feel that the hate is stronger from Sideshow than my love for 100 Thieves, that's where they go in the tier list, right? So we might be neutral on some, but the other person might like them. But let's start with 100 Thieves. Tell me, Sideshow, of all the Americas teams, you've been around them. 100 Thieves, do you like them?
I dislike the way that you framed this as you've been around them. Like, I'm going to make a judgment on them personally. I'll tell you what, the fan base is some of the most whiny motherfuckers out there. They do be whining. Anytime they're like getting eliminated early from a tournament, they're quick to hate. I think the fan base has got to be like down there. The team, though, I don't necessarily have a problem with the team, but I don't love them. Like, they're a little bit weird, like the way that they rotate Acend and Cryo. I would say, for me, they're in a broken yoke tier.
I think that's perfectly reasonable. I completely agree with you. Nadeshot can be a bit annoying, I think, at times as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to be honest, the more that we're talking about it, the more they're starting to get towards cereal with water. But I'm trying to keep that tier like open a little bit, but they're around there.
But okay, let's stick with a broken yoke for now, and maybe later on we'll move them down if we, feel a sense of a wave of hatred coming over us later on. But 100 Thieves. Let's set the goal for 100 Thieves in terms of whether they will overachieve or not. Let's say at least for stage 1. Let's say that they make one of the 2 internationals. Do you think
honestly, TMV, it doesn't even matter what realistic goal you set them, 100 Thieves are going to underachieve. Because the fan base also, even if they made 1 international this year, the fan base last year they made 1 international. And the fan base still thought they were dreadful all year. Or like
and they won
they were
in Americas,
happy with
didn't
them.
they?
Yeah, they won in Americas in stage 1. And the fan base was still like annoyed at the team and what they'd achieved. So the fan base assumes that they're like gonna be the best ever, and anything less than that is an underachievement. So they're perennial underachievers.
Yeah, I mean that is completely fair. And so that this is how it's going to work. We've got 100 Thieves and a broken yoke, and they're going to underachieve as well. So we don't like them, and we don't think they'll do great.
Good start. Good start.
Let's move on. And these next 2 teams, both Ascension teams, and I feel like for Ascension teams, they're harder to dislike. I think Ascension teams in general. Let's start
2G.
Let's start with 2G.
Are harder to dislike. Are they?
Do you dislike 2G? I mean, they played some bad Valorant.
I would say that coming into Ascension, I was completely neutral on 2G because I just didn't really know them at all.
Yep.
After their run in Ascension, I was like, okay, these guys, there's some excitement around them, but at the same time, I don't think they're going to be able to keep it up to that level. Now, I didn't think they were going to put on an absolute stinker performance when they got to tier 1, but the fact that they now look like they are literally going to be thieves of my time once a week. They are simply going to rob me of important, finite, might I add, time on this mortal earth. I can't help but feel negatively about them.
It's a great start because I was worried that, you might not want to see it. This is why I got you on for this show, right? Because most people, might be like, oh no, I kind of like this team. I kind of like that team. They wouldn't be willing to go for the negative. This is why had to do it with Sideshow.
Brother, you started with 100 Thieves, 2G, Apex, and all gluers. I mean, we're not going to get to the positives for like 5 teams.
Okay, so, but is that a pure hatred that they're robbing you of your time? Because I would say I'm neutral on 2G, so this is going wherever you put them, basically.
Okay, you're neutral. Well, the thing is, when I watch them, I am going to be a little more neutral because I'm going to be accessing my zen, stoic mode just to simply persevere through the time that is been allocated to watch them. So there's somewhere between neutral and a broken yoke, but I think a broken yoke is, over the course of the season, I'm going to dislike them because if they don't get any better, they're just going to be a punching bag, and that's no fun to watch.
Well, my next question for you is it possible for 2G to underachieve?
No. I would actually say that you're right. They have to overachieve, don't they? Because everybody's expecting them to lose every single game. So it's literally impossible for them to underachieve.
We might need to make like a separate tier in here where they go in the middle, like if they do lose every game.
What if they won 1 game like DFM?
That would be
People would be pogging.
Yeah, that would be an overachievement. As soon as they win a game. But the thing is, like, not even win a game. I'd be... with how they look during kickoff, if they win a map, I'd be impressed.
Yeah.
They will win a map this year.
Absolutely, they'll win a map.
They'll win a map.
I think part of the problem is how, like, boomed they were. Well, not boomed, but, like, timid they were playing. Yeah. And I think when Spike joins them as well in like June or July or whatever his birthday is, that they're gonna win something at that point. So yeah, you know what? Actually, when Spike comes back in, they're gonna be interesting again. So can we put him in neutral?
Okay, we can put him in decrement and deck. Yeah,
I'm starting to think about that, and I think I will start to get excited again. It's going to be like Shanghai Dragons when they brought in the Korean players instead of just losing with Chinese players over and over and over again. There's going to be a glimmer of excitement even if they lose.
Yeah, but I don't think either of us think 2G will last in tier 1. They're going back down.
Wow, I can't believe you'd say that.
Well, I mean, that's what you think that as well. I know you do. They'd have to win, You
don't know what's in my mind. You don't know what's in my mind.
Okay, then let's quickly move on, and hopefully you will share some of those thoughts in your mind, considering we've got, an hour and a half to go. Apex, another Ascension team. Again, I would say I'm slightly negative on Apex because they were competing with Acend in 2023 in Ascension. So I would say I have a vaguely negative view on them.
I think the community perception is that they should be going in like a summer's breeze or something.
I think the community
But
like them. I don't.
how can you watch?
They do have flaw. They do have flaw. Remember.
And 4 people who are failing to shoot back constantly. I mean, that is. If you only care about flaw, then all right, this is a fun team to watch because they do set her up with util, and then she does pop off, and then the whole team loses, and you can say that flaw could have done so much better because flaw never actually is having like a serious shot with a good team around her. You can make up your own ceiling as to how good she could be. You can validly say, oh, Flaw's one of the best aimers in the EMEA, and all right, you can't really disprove that because she's not getting close enough games to even really be able to tell. She just looks like the best player on a crap team. So I think really the amount of like they got to go down, don't they? Because apart from Flaw, it's just all bad.
Yeah, but signing Flaw, I know you hate women, but like signing Flaw,
that's not true.
The first, the first trans player in Tier 1, like that is a big PR win, right? Like that is a big.
But that's also the thing. It's not just the PR win. She's actually a cracked player in reality.
But they were willing to take that chance.
But yeah, there was a little bit of a gamble. It paid off enormously, but the team that she joined was too bad to ever realize the potential.
So that makes you dislike them.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they're going in a broken yoke. I think this will be heavily unpopular with the fans. But
you literally said that you feel negative about them.
Yeah, but that's to do with old stuff. That's like and some of these teams, the grudges go deep. We're going.
I see.
We're gonna go back, for some of these teams quite a while. But
well, then if we're gonna go back a little bit, I think I already took some negativity for this team because they'd choked their opportunity to make Ascension against Gentlemates in a previous year.
Yeah.
So like, I've already got a bit of a negative framework around the players, and even though they crushed Tier 2, I'm like, all right, well, do something on the Tier 1 level, and then they just haven't really.
So we're putting him in a broken yoke. But what? See, I feel like, again, Apex, the expectation is so low, underachieving would feel almost impossible, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So they have to.
In fact, I would say they've already overachieved in terms of like what they've showcased.
They won a map. They've won a map.
They've won a map. They've like showcased that Flaws completely able to handle her own at the Tier 1 level if you throw good util, as Mulsi does. So, yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Now, this next team, all glue. I have to say, the Infinite Man roster that they've got, literally acquiring all of the gamers, I think, as Achilleos said yesterday on Plat Chat.
Yep.
I like that. I think that's hilarious. I think that this team is hilarious. I understand that they're bad, but I think that they're funny. And so that for me would probably put them in a Summer's Breeze because I think that they are a funny team, and I just appreciate that they make me laugh, even if they are complete shit.
But they're not rotating their roster around.
No,
right?
but I love that they've also got 5 people on their staff as well.
Yeah, it is. But that's just a funny VLR page. That's not actually like they're not funny in game.
Well, they played a pretty strange game against Trace.
Yeah, that was weird. The like massive almost comeback failure. I didn't watch that game actually.
And a 13-1 to end. They literally just reverted straight back to we have no idea what we're doing.
TMV, I don't know if you realize, but every time we open the VLR page, there's more subs. When we did Plat Chat 2 days ago, only 2 people were listed as sub, and now 2 more have been added to the sub list. Originally, it was only 1, then it's 2, then it's 4. At some point, there's actually just going to be accurately listed subs. I just can't get over the fact that there's a player called Player and someone in charge called Master. I just don't like
how can you not enjoy that?
It's so
I like that
bizarre.
2 of these are just listed as staff. They don't, no one knows what they do. They just turn up.
I Yeah, I would say that I'm. Yeah, you know what? Go for it. Summers breeze them up.
Okay, but will all gluers? I mean, again, the same thing is true for 2G and Apex that it is for them. I think. Can they underachieve that much? We had them
No.
as what, the 47th team, right? When we did the
Yeah, I think so. Something like that.
So,
Yeah,
I
it was like
mean,
2G and then all gluers.
So
No.
basically, I guess we're saying, will they be worse than 2G? That's the only way they can underachieve.
I mean, it can't be possible. Like they must overachieve our expectations.
Okay, there they go. I mean, to be fair, they almost beat Trace. They could have beaten Trace. That already straight away would have been an overachievement, I think, had they done that.
This is going to look like the world's most ridiculous tier list.
Yeah, but that's why it's funny.
Yeah.
That's why it's funny. Okay, BBL, a team that maybe you can finally feel positive about. Take me through BBL.
Yeah, so all right, so BBL this year, I was not feeling good about coming in. I thought that they had done a really weird job with the roster construction. Wasn't really happy with that. I thought they were going to be silly and fun to watch, right? Because you've got like Yampi's a bit of a silly player. He's now IGLing for the team. They picked up some people who are very, if they're put in a difficult decision, they tend to go forwards, like sociable. I think it fits into that category. But actually, Yampi just called a really solid, good game and wasn't doing too much silly shit. And BBL in the past has been quite a neutral, boring team, I think.
Yes.
They've either been the they've always been the Turkish rosters, but they've either been bad or they've been good on like one map. And they're never like silly enough. I think they're in the Ant and Deck tier for me.
Yes, I completely agree. A very over the course of Valorant's history, a neutral team, I think. But deciding whether they overachieve or underachieve, they've already kind of overachieved a bit during kickoff, but that might have now raised our expectations, and they might horrendously fall. I'm actually going to go take a look at their group here for BBL.
I can't remember the EMEA groups.
Yeah, let's take a look. So this is their schedule. They've got Karmine Corp, Liquid, KOI, Gentlemates, FOT. I mean, that's a favorable group, I would say. It's not Murder's Row.
No, it's not a super difficult group, but also tell me which teams they're going to get very clear wins against. Because to me, KOI,
maybe
KOI,
Gentlemates.
Right, and so the other three teams, KC, Liquid, and FOT.
But if they probably just need to win one of those games, and then they're in a pretty good spot. If you win 3 games, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, you're doing all right. But at the beginning of the year, we would have said that they should probably be 3rd or 4th in that group. Now, having seen their potential from kickoff, I think we'd be looking for a little more than that. I'm ambivalent on this. I don't know. I think they're a true neutral. D&D look at that.
Okay, well, I guess that's for me to decide, and I'm going to say that they will overachieve them. I'm going to say that they already have basically overachieved a bit, so we'll give them that bit of grace from what we thought at the start of the season. Okay, BLG. Now, BLG, I think, get credit for one of the biggest upsets in Valorant history.
Oh, absolutely.
So, like, straight away, they just get a massive amount of credit for beating FNS.
And you know what? Not just that, but they didn't immediately go to shit afterwards. Because there's a lot of teams that get a big upset result, and then they don't really do much afterwards, or they get to a decent level, and then they decide, we've got to play some proper Valorant now. Billy Gaming are not going to play proper Valorant. No, thank you. I think they're in...
You want to put them in
Margaret Thatcher tier. I think they're stealing children's milk.
Okay. I mean, it's bold, but I can't. I'm with you. I'm totally with you.
The child is Finesse, or I suppose the Finesse is the adult and the child is Som, and they stole Som's milk.
Now, over the course of the season, because I would say that now with Trace looking bad, I think most people would probably say that BLG are maybe like the second China team, right? Like,
I don't think most people would. I think most people are still not on the Billy train. I think the Billy train has been gathering steam, and other people have not been paying enough attention. They're on the way back. I think they're going to overperform expectations because people still think of them as a silly team.
Okay, I mean, put them right at the top. I do like how this as well, the tier is kind of broken because this is so long, and so they're just kind of floating midway up.
I never realized before that there's a thumbs up in the middle of the B.
I did not ever see that before either. That is
I think it is, right? I think
It
that's
kind of looks like a thumbs up. I mean, they've got like a massive like index finger, but
yeah, I think Bilibili also I think they have some kind of like I'll have to do some research here, but I think Bilibili have an anime that's something to do with like finger guns or something. It's something finger focused, I swear. Because they had the Hangzhou Spark in Overwatch League, and theirs was like a finger gun, and that was some kind of tie-in to some intellectual property that they owned.
oh, okay.
So it might be deliberate.
They also have a nice color scheme, different, unique color scheme. So yeah, they going into. I think we shouldn't shorten it to Thatcher tier because that would make it seem, like Thatcher. Right. Well, I mean, so maybe that's what you think.
What do you want to shorten it to? Stealing tier? Stealing from children tier? Stealing children's milk tier? It doesn't really work unless you read the entire thing, TMV.
That's true.
That almost feels like deliberate bait.
but you saying, yeah, let's put them at the top in Thatcher tier. Just I'm just saying, be careful. Although that's what you think, so that's fine.
That's not true.
Boom Esports have been around in Valorant for a while. Actually made champs, right? Back in the day, 2022 or something.
Are they the team that got killed on the rope? Was that Boom for Crashies?
Yes, it was. That was Boom. That definitely was Boom. Yes. Right. Yeah, that was 2022 champs, I think, and it was Boom that did that. So that's already a funny moment. So that's good.
I mean, very funny.
They also played in arguably one of the best Valorant games of all time in the Ascension final, which ultimately didn't matter. But at the time, they didn't know that, and it was a great game.
But that's even funnier. The fact that they put it all on the line and it didn't matter at all.
Yeah, they played like the best game they ever have, and it didn't matter at all. And
we should do that more often. Like, Riot should say that there's only one spot for an event. And then like, they should say that it's a 14 Masters. Tank all of the bad PR at the beginning of the year. Play a grand final that's epic, and then just invite both teams anyway, and it was an 18 Masters all along.
That would be funny. I mean, I doubt they'll do that. Something about the way Riot works, I doubt they would do that for a meme. But maybe if you ever get in control of Riot, you can pitch the idea. But what do we think of Boom then? I'm thinking we're pretty positive. I wouldn't say they're in Thatcher tier as you've labeled it. No. But I'm happy to put them in a Summer's Breeze. I feel
they're right. Yeah, I think they're in a Summer's Breeze. I think that we've got some good memories associated with Boom. Now the good memories are all of them losing. But like
maybe that will inform whether we put them in over or under, because here's the thing. Boom, I think, of the Ascension teams, we've been pleasantly surprised by, they were actually competitive, more so than we thought. I think it is possible they underachieve, because I think people think that they'll at least be... I mean, Chobra picked them.
Yeah.
To beat Gen.G.
Yeah, that is... I mean, Chobra, by the way, was the only person who picked them. So it's not like that was anywhere near majority opinion.
No, but...
I think it's a little unfair to Boom because all of the other teams that we've expected to do badly, you've put in overachieve because they can't possibly underachieve. But I do agree that in Pacific, in particular, Boom have gone up the rankings very quickly by having a close finals against Nongshim and then a close game against T1. Yeah, throw them in the under. Because I do agree that they're going to do worse than people are currently expecting, but even that might be a bit better than people thought at the beginning of the year. We did rank them as like the worst Pacific team, slam dunk, at the start of the year.
Yeah, that's true.
So they're probably going to do
better than
that.
Yeah, but still,
we
need a bit harsh. Unlucky. You're in a Summer's Breeze. We like you, so
sure.
That's you got to take the good with the bad.
At least again, we're laughing at you. We're laughing at you. We're not laughing with you.
Okay, a very interesting one. I'm sure this team would be low on a lot of people's lists. Cloud9, an org famous for picking up players, cutting them relentlessly, making excuses for why they've cut those players, lying about why they've cut those players. What do you think of Cloud9?
After I talked on Plat Chat about how, I talked to a bunch of people behind the scenes, right? About Ye getting dropped because Cloud9 had messed up their finances.
Yeah.
And Jack DM'd me on Twitter and was like, hey, can I talk to you about the way that I like to run my teams? Just ghosted the guy. Just ghosted him. No, actually, I don't care. I think it's not that I'm filled with hatred, but the sum total of what C9 have been up to, with, like you said, cutting players, re-adding players, cutting players, re-adding players. They're like minus plus, minus plus. The recycling, the getting rid of MCE and then losing Zelsis when he had built that roster anyway. Getting rid of Ye because they'd mismanaged their financials, even though that might have ended up in hindsight being a good idea because they were about to go into the like esports winter kind of terrible situation. But they should have never signed a player for that amount of money. If
and also the team was good that year. Like they got rid of Ye and then we're good.
Yeah, but also the thing that really knocks them off the list way down for me is how much of regular season merchants they are. Because do you remember the seasons where they're going like 8-1, 8-2, and then flopping in the playoffs?
Yeah.
I just can't stand that. I cannot stand it. They are a cereal with water looking ass team for me.
And I completely, I mean, I think the people will be cheering, you know, behind their monitors for this, because I think a lot of people would have them in this tier. The thing is with Cloud9, I guess, do you think that they can... I suppose you think the expectation is that they will be somewhat regular season merchants again and probably do okay and maybe make the playoffs and then not do anything. Do you think it's more likely that they... yeah, it is a hard one, isn't it?
Because the community, when Rossi got cut, was so down on them. Like, they took the emotional reaction of, like, we don't like this, and just put it into the factual reality of this team is going to be bad. Whereas if C9 had actually signed this roster at the beginning of the year, I think a lot of people would have been fairly positive about it. I think they would have been like, all right, it's not that bad of a roster. Like, they might be able to do something. But I think the reality is that they're just not going to be that good. So I think under.
You don't want to be in this tier. At least in this one, there's a silver lining. But in this one, there is no silver lining with cereal with water, and you're going to underachieve. That is just that kind of shows, I think, the level of you know, hatred. To be honest.
Had a good bundle. They had a good bundle.
They did have a good bundle last year. This year is not that good. Okay, speaking of bundles, a team that I own the bundle of, DFM, or last year's bundle at least. DFM, I think you have to be vaguely positive because they were a meme org, and now they're less of a meme. For me,
I think this team has been a complete waste of time at the tier 1 level up until very recently. I have a lot of, from previous years, have a lot of
built up
negative thoughts about them. And I'm struggling this year because that's meeting reality. And the reality is they're actually not that bad. But I'm struggling to distance myself from what they did in previous years. Like, for me, I didn't even like the memes.
Okay.
Like, they were a meme team, but the meme was just, we're shit. That's not a meme, guys. You're just bad. Like, when they won that one map or one match, I can't even remember what it was. The game on Acend where they beat, was it T1 and then they ended up winning? Yeah, they won the match against them.
Yeah.
Oh, people were out in the streets celebrating.
You weren't.
I hated it.
You weren't.
No, because who cares? They're just terrible. They're going to keep being terrible. And yet this year they've actually, they look better than Zeta. But I think it's just very sad that the Japanese scene has such strong fan base and strong viewership and has dismal performances. I mean, dismal. Like, in terms of the viewership and like the passion for the game, they got to be the worst.
They beat Paper Rex 13-1.
They did, yeah.
So
I just mean
they had a positive moment.
And they probably will have many other positive moments over the course of this year. Like, this year is the turning point.
Let's check the DFM group. See what we think.
I think they play against ARQ to open, right? And that was like
they play against Global to open.
Oh, Global, sorry, to open. Yeah,
it's Global, DRX. Oh, they've got the tough group though. They got DRX, Gen.G, Paper Rex.
Well, they've already beaten Global. Paper Rex once. You know, they can certainly beat Boom. In fact, they'd probably even be favored.
Didn't we both pick Global though? I picked Global.
Yes, but I think it's a bit of a coin flip.
Yes, I agree, but you know, we both did pick Global to win the game.
They've got chances of being able to make playoffs. I think the reality is, though, I don't care about the org. I have no reason to really be invested in the players, and I didn't think they were a funny org either. So I have a negative perception on them. But
you sound more negative than I do positive.
No. I'm just trying to explain myself so that I don't get Japanese fans telling me that I must save a lot on shampoo and to go and die. Like that's basically what I'm what I'm trying to avoid here.
So what you'd put them in a neutral camp?
Sure, I think this year it's somewhat neutral. Okay. I think this is where the worm is turning.
Okay, but will they be overachieve? I think this is a tough question whether DFM will over or underachieve. I'm happy to put them in neutral. What was that?
I think they will I think they'll underachieve.
Okay.
Because I think people like Paper Thin, for example, who think they're going to make an international event. I think things have swung back a little bit too much into the
people have seen a team that's like never winning a game finally, you know, look competitive and they think they're going to be way better. Yeah, I think so. I can see that. I would, looking at that group, like if I think Global are going to beat DFM, they're in trouble. Like that game for Global and DFM is actually a very important game because it very might well decide who makes the playoffs and who doesn't. So yeah, they're going in at decremented deck and under. DRX. Now, talk about teams like they're kind of. I'm interested to see how if your logic follows a similar pattern here, because you could argue that they're just like Cloud9, but slightly further ahead, right? That they're a team that makes internationals, and then always falls short. Are they in that same category for you? Does that therefore annoy you about DRX, or is there some kind of love that you have?
I think if you had asked me this before champs of last year, so, early stage 2 last year, DRX would have been down in the cereal with water. Because what would have been at the forefront of my mind is their Foxy9 in, Foxy9 out, Foxy9 in, Foxy9 out.
And you hate Foxy9 famously.
Well, I didn't at the time that he was going in and out of the DRX roster. I thought he was put in a bad spot, but now I think he's had his opportunities, and
I should have just put Foxy9 here at the bottom. Just.
But the point is, and again, DRX have done some dumb shit, I think, over the course of their years. But since champs and since adding people like Flashback, and Bane seems like a really important glue player as well, and then this year adding Hyunmin,
glue in a good way,
adding Freeing. No, glue in a good way, like an important connective tissue kind of player. I think they've actually hit onto something, and I'm feeling really positive about them. Okay. So again, they've turned it around for me from champs and from this offseason, and from what they did in kickoff. I'm now like Summer's Breeze kind of territory, whereas before I think, like half a year ago, 8 months ago, I would have been more like Broken Yoke.
Yeah, I agree with you. The future feels hopeful for DRX, doesn't it? It feels like you add in Freeing and Hyunmin as like two crazy good players. It's like, oh, this is kind of cool, right? I mean, I've always been a big Mako fan. So yeah, I would have probably said I'm a light Summer's Breeze here. The question is, and this is a tough one. Was it you who picked DRX to win Pacific?
I did, yeah.
Oh, so you believe that they're gonna do pretty well. So you would probably put them in overachieve, because I don't think.
Not so fast, little man. I would put them in overachieve, but because my expectations at the beginning of the year were quite like middling. I thought they were going to be like a 5th, 6th kind of team. Maybe more like 4th, 5th. I can't remember exactly where we put them, but somewhere around there, where it's like they're consistent, but they're not going to win in Pacific.
So they've already overachieved.
Yeah, they've already overachieved, and my expectations being reassessed. Credit to that.
Okay, that makes sense. I think that's fair. I think most people would probably put DRX in this tier if they were to do that ranking. I think DRX are a team that most people have felt pretty positive about. I think because maybe they are perennial kind of 5th, 6ers. It builds up a bit of hope for them. Maybe one day they'll do it. Yeah. Now this team, I'm gonna be honest, DRG. This is a very mixed bag. This team, because I hate the way they play. I hate the Vukushu just carries them and buys a rifle with no shields half the rounds and wins anyway, and literally just walks around and taps heads and clearly like isn't talking with the rest of the team and just does whatever he wants and wins anyway. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. But they do have a cute dragon as their logo.
That can't be the reason that's on your positive. The pros are they have a cute dragon as their logo. They do. I mean, they do have some of the best.
I also hate their color scheme. I hate green and blue.
I agree.
I
I
absolutely
actually
hate green
hard
and blue.
agree. But the DRG colors, when they're applied to the bundle or something, are better than the Evil Genius colors because
Oh
EG
yeah,
used the worst possible blue and green color palette. It's like is it the
it's
Vancouver
it's
color
the
palette?
Seattle green and blue.
Yes, yeah, sorry, Seattle. It's horrible.
Yeah.
I also dislike this team because they made a crazy run through Ascension and beat Rare Atom, who
Your
I
favorite team.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually at the time were one of my favorite teams.
Yeah.
Uh, Now, having said that, I find them fun to watch. The chaos and the nonsense is fun. Um, I'm kind of ambivalent on them, so I think it's
Okay.
your call on
I'm not
this.
gonna put them way in cereal with water. I don't hate them that much. I am gonna put them in a broken yolk though. And
Oh,
well, the thing is, right? And you said that you had DRG being overrated as a mid F tier team, famously. Um, but that's the thing with DRG is they play a style Vuxu just will win. They will win more games than you always think because you're like, there's no way this team is gonna do anything because they look shit. They're just walking around look clueless, but it works for them. They always overachieve. We
yeah, I
we
would say that's
always rank
reasonable.
them lower, and then all the time they're like the fourth best team, no matter
Yeah,
what. No matter what.
yeah.
Um,
Well, that happens like once a year. Like it happened for Shanghai, and they were the third best team or something, and then it happened at
no,
kickoff.
but
They were
like
like the
you're
fourth best team.
bigging up G Lai in this game versus DRG, and what happens?
Well, they shit the bed a little bit.
Exactly. DRG
Yeah,
are just always that team. Like what
yeah.
did they finish in kickoff? Third,
Fourth, I
fourth?
think.
Yeah, fourth. Exactly. Like that's just who they are. So I'm gonna put them in overachieve. Okay, the next one is EDG. Now again, an interesting. Go you talk me through what you feel about EDG.
I think you have to feel good about them, don't you? They are at the beginning when they used to turn up to the international events and look super strong in China and then not perform at the international level. That was a bit frustrating. That was like, come on, how many opportunities do you need before you're starting to take some serious lessons away from this? But even when they were, bombing out or whatever, like Tokyo, they finished fifth. That was amazing for a Chinese team
Yeah.
at the time. And they were so fun to watch. Watching Kang Kang just put on a masterclass with the operator was spectacular. And now watching them dominate in China and then win in champs, it's fun. The only thing I dislike about EDG is that they do feel like they half-arse it in China a bit. That's what I'm not as big a fan of because I watch their games and I'm like, I'm not actually watching peak EDG here. I'm watching like
Yeah.
half foot on the throttle kind of gaming. But I think I'd put them in the stealing milk from children tier.
You would? You'd put them all the way at the top?
I think so. I think they deserve that kind of
Respect.
respect. I don't know where would you have them?
I would probably put them in a summer's breeze, but if you want to put them stealing children's milk, then that's absolutely fine. But I mean, another interesting question is though, like what overachieving, I guess for EG would be you have
You
to at
can't
least win it.
overachieve.
You can't overachieve. You think?
I don't think so.
If they
I
won
think
if they won Toronto and won champs, that would be overachieving.
I think
Winning back-to-back internationals would be overachieving.
It absolutely would,
It
but the
won't happen,
chances of that,
Yeah.
exactly, the chances of that are so tiny, and that's literally what they'd have to do to overachieve.
Yeah.
Even if they just won one of them, I don't think that would be
No, that would
overachieving
just
because
be
I think
par,
people are so high on EDG still. Like coming into the year, people are like, "Why do you not have EDG as the number one team? They just won champs. Like, why do you not have them there?" Assuming that everything is exactly the same from the end of last year to the beginning of this year.
I mean, I did pick them to win Bangkok, so
Not a
there you go.
crazy take either,
There
but
you go.
they didn't look the best team at kickoff. I don't think.
No, absolutely not. So yeah, there you go. EDG. I mean, still happy to be here, right? You're at the top of the list. You're stealing children's milk. Like you got to be happy.
Yeah.
You got to be happy. Enjoy the milk. Another interesting team to talk about in terms of where to put them on this list.
Is it?
You think? Well, I think it's contrasting because in EG's history, EG obviously went on one of the most, miraculous surges, you would say, from where they were and won champs in North America. As an America's caster, you would think that North American team winning champs. You casted that game, I believe. You know, was that not?
No, I didn't do the
You
champs
didn't.
fight.
You didn't cast that one.
No.
Sorry for bringing up bad memories.
Yeah, tough memory.
So
Bad memory.
EG cereal with water, I guess. But then they lose all their players, but they still have Potter, and I think people like Potter, and I like Potter. You hate women, so.
Okay. The fact that they retained Potter is not enough to offset the fact that they kept their entire roster in roster jail, attempted, according to reports, to cut their salaries if they wanted to stay by 50%, fucked up all of the rest of the roster moves that were happening around Americas by keeping those players jailed for so long, because people like NRG and people like 100 Thieves weren't able to scrim with their players because they were still in negotiation hell. And then they've also just had, apart from that one blip, they've not been an org that you care about, man. They just haven't.
And they have a bad color scheme.
They have a bad
Although their
color scheme,
jersey, what do you
branding.
think of their jerseys this year?
I haven't paid attention to them, to be honest.
You don't remember the little checkerboard one? The little, like a vintage looking?
Really? I mean, the jerseys I've paid attention to are the cricket jerseys from G2.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I mean, they had this awful one, this like glue one, as I called it, the glue jersey. But I'm looking for the like checkerboard one.
As long as the colors are not that horrible green and blue, I'm not 100% opposed to it.
I can't find it. Unlucky. Either way, it wasn't very good. So where would you put EG then?
I would put them in a broken yoke. In fact, I think they'd be lucky to get away with not being in cereal with water, frankly. I think in terms of an organization, they should be in cereal with water. But because like the amount of investment they do is minimal. Everybody needs that kind of like cheap team in the league because that's where the players go to have their like redemption tours or something like that. If EG were paying the big bucks as well, then maybe we wouldn't have rosters that also had, you know, Derek on a revival tour and Ye on a revival tour. And people do like that. But the core reason why they're able to do that is because they're not investing. And they're also actively, like, messing up their championship roster. The more I'm talking about it, the more pissed off I'm getting, actually.
You want to put them in cereal with water? You can. You have that power.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to put them in cereal with
now,
water.
the question then becomes, EG, expectations I would say are fairly low. I think most people, I think Mimi referred to it yesterday on Flat Chat, would have them as like the 10th place team in Americas, right? Better than Furia, better than 2G, but not better than anyone else. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I also think that's accurate, so now I'm struggling to think whether they're going to over or underperform.
What's more likely? I would say more likely than is overachieving. If you base
probably.
it on that.
A little bit. Because I think they could still take a swing at teams like C9 or Loud.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, I mean, that's tough though. Tough though for EG to be down here with, I mean, not as bad as this. At least we think you'll do better maybe than 10th. Okay, Fnatic, an org that, I mean, I'll just quickly talk about Fnatic. I think most people's opinion of Fnatic is mostly positive. I think, you know, people like Fnatic, they like Boaster. You know, they like the 2023 roster in particular. They like. I'm kind of like, Fnatic to me is like supporting the Patriots or now the Chiefs, right? Where it just doesn't feel like a lot of people became Fnatic fans, and I know there will have been quite a lot, you know, before in 2022 and 2021 that was like their struggle. But in terms of like partnership era Fnatic, like I'm kind of just over them. To be honest, I prefer watching them struggle. I think I prefer seeing them have a struggle. Now, I don't hate them. They're not cereal with water. They haven't done anything like, you know, horrendously bad that makes me, you know, actively root against them. I don't root against them, but I do like seeing the fans struggle a little bit. So I would put them in a broken yoke. What say you?
I would put them in a summer's breeze. I have been following the core of this team with Durka and Boaster, and you know, back when they played with Mystic, Magnum, etc.
Yeah, that team I would put in a summer's breeze too.
Oh, and they were great to watch, fun to watch, innovative. Yep. I really actually enjoy the way that Boaster calls.
Yeah,
he calls kind of like a bit of a formulaic style, but a style where you can always tell why everything is happening. You know, it's not as chaotic. It's nice to watch. It's like beautiful Valorant sometimes. And then I think they've had the only true super team in Valorant. There are others that you can make arguments for, but that beginning of 2023's roster was a super team, and it actually got the results, and immediately as well. So and it was they were playing like nice Valorant. They weren't just playing we have a loaded roster and we're going to run at people. They were playing some sensible, good Valorant. I'm cool. So I would have had them in the S tier, but
S for stealing milk from children.
Exactly. So I have cooled off on them though. Getting rid of Durka was very stupid. I think really stupid decision. Losing Leo is unavoidable. Okay, that's just what happens. But the team, as I watch it this year, is like a shadow of its former self. But I would still say that the like history, the legacy of the team for me, I look at Fnatic and I'm like, a nice summer's breeze.
See, I do agree with you, because I would have said, like, during like their 2023 run, I enjoyed Fnatic. I liked Fnatic. I wanted them to do well. I wanted them to win. I think for me now, it's just like, I'm kind of just sick of what, like, if they would have come into this year as well and been like top 2 in EMEA, I just would have been like, I'm just sick of this. Can't we just get someone else to be good? I actually kind of enjoyed that they, you know, like, oh no, we got eliminated like earlier than we expected in kickoff. Like,
no, come on. It would have been amazing to see Fnatic versus Vitality with Dirk. That would have been incredible.
Yes, it would have done.
If Fnatic had Leo and they
Do you remember that Na'Vi game? We were watching it together though, and we were, don't say you weren't rooting for Na'Vi.
I was absolutely rooting for Na'Vi. That's why I'm saying that this roster this year is a shadow of its former self. And that's what's so messed up about it, is that you apparently like this version of the roster more than the previous one.
No, I don't. I don't like them more now.
You were saying you like it when they have a struggle.
Yeah, so because I'm like hate watching. Not because I like the team. I'm liking that they're having to struggle, because I'm just sick of them being like, I'm sick of EMEA being like, oh, well, one of the best 2 teams is obviously just this team, right? Like, it feels like in the other regions, there hasn't been like, what, like, you know, Sentinels had their struggles in 2023, right? Loud were at the top in 2023. You know, and then have fallen off, right?
I mean, Loud have fallen this year.
Yeah, we've seen a mix in Pacific. You know, Paper Rex are having a struggle now. We've seen DRX be at the top but fall down. We've seen Gen.G be at the top, but now they're not. Like, you know, there's been a mix in the other regions, but in EMEA, it's always been Fnatic as one of the top 2 teams, and I just got a bit sick of it. That said, I appreciate what you've said.
No, you be a hater.
No. Let me finish, because I appreciate what you said, and going back throughout the days, you know, I have to come back to, I remember the game that they played versus Mech at the time, right? Arguably one of the best until the grand final at Bangkok. I would still say that was actually my favorite game I've ever watched.
The like 0.02.
Yeah, the Mech Fnatic crazy game. On split, but the Fracture as well was very entertaining as well. So I'm happy. If you want to put them in a Summer's Breeze, I'm happy to do so, because there are still some positive feelings back there. You know, I don't hate any of the players, you know, or the coaching staff or whoever, right? Like, I still appreciate that. Getting rid of Durka. If Durka was still there, I probably would, you know, this wouldn't even be a consideration, because I like Durka.
You know, I don't want to ruin your favorite game of all time as well. But you do remember that was a qualification game to a LAN that neither team were actually able to attend. Because that was a qualification to go to Masters 1 Reykjavik, and Fnatic ended up needing substitutions to go there. And also, Mech wouldn't have been able to attend because they weren't able to get visas.
Yeah, I know, but it was still that's still a banger game. It doesn't take away the fact that Boom versus Nongshim was a banger game.
Some of your favorite games of all time have been useless matches.
Meaningless games that they didn't know at the time were meaningless.
Yes. This is we just need to create more meaningless matches.
But clearly convince people that it's not meaningless, yeah.
Yep.
But let's talk about, will Fnatic over or underachieve this year? I mean, it's kind of an interesting question, because from where we were at the start of the year, you'd probably say they have underachieved thus far.
I think they will continue to underachieve.
You think they'll continue to underachieve?
I think because of what you're talking about, where people are kind of stuck in their inertia of assuming that Fnatic are going to be at least a top 3 team or 4 team, even if they're not the best anymore. I think they're going to underachieve.
Okay. I mean, I think that's fair because, yeah, I do think they're more in the middle of the pack, you know, unless like Leo comes back or something. But if Leo came back, that would be like a triumphant return, and you know, would be kind of.
They go to Thatcher POV immediately.
Yeah, that would be very cool. In fact, yeah, that's a good point. If Leo was on the team, yeah, they could be even higher. Okay, now FPX. Now I like FPX. I've always liked FPX. They played. I know they've got rid of their coach now, so they probably won't play as crazy comps. But they played some wild, wacky comps. Last year, they were involved in some of the best games. The Heretics at, where was it? Shanghai game was insane. Incredible. So I've always had an affinity for FPX because, you know, as soon as they kind of came onto the scene in terms... Obviously, like, I mean, I don't know if we'll count the FPX of EMEA. I guess it is the same org.
Yeah,
so
I feel like that's not kosher though. Comparing that, like they should be given credit for Na'Vi maybe.
Yeah, but I like FPX. I'd be honestly happy to put them in Stealing Milk, which would be interesting.
No possible way they're getting into Stealing Children's Milk. I mean, we've got to hit some kind of compromise here because this team is frustrating. Like they don't win. They don't win. They turn up to international events. They play silly Valorant. Very silly
banger games.
Valorant.
They play banger games.
They play banger
even if it's silly.
They play banger maps, and then they lose. And they always lose. And so the hype is over-justified for this team. And they don't achieve anything. And they're hard capped by their communication system. So they're never gonna achieve anything. So you're just stuck in a cycle of being entertained for no reason. This is a therapy session for UTMV. What we're realizing is you only care about things that can't ever go anywhere. You're caring about the dopamine for dopamine's sake. They lost. Look at the red carpet of loss. They lost to EDG in the finals. They're not going to win a finals in China. They lost to Team Heretics. They lost to
it's one map. It's not one map, is it? Look at this.
They lost to DRX. They've won one map against Heretics.
This was against the team that came runners-up.
I know, but they're not going to win these big games. They're not winning these big games. They're never winning these big games. They're always playing silly, and they're never winning the big games.
Oh,
they're just you're just enjoying.
So where would you put them
tortured.
then? So you're a hater.
I'm a hater. I would be putting them in Broken Yoke.
I look. The rules are that whoever feels more strongly about it is where they go.
No, but I think you feel very strongly about it. I'm just asking you to compromise a little.
I mean, I think that you're just being a bit of a front runner, though. Like, oh, you only like the teams that win.
No. I like the teams that shit the bed honestly as well. But when you're an FPX and you play stupidly.
Yeah.
But then it works almost, and then you flop at the finish line. Oh, that's like Cloud9. That's like Cloud9 being regular season merchants. You're just doing a smaller version of a Cloud9. You're getting right to the finish line, and then you're falling over.
Yeah, but I could say the same about DRX, and they're in a summer's breeze, and you like them.
No, you couldn't say the same thing about DRX. They've made top 3 at international events before.
Yeah, like once.
Yeah. And they also have looked very strong at international events.
Fine, okay. I will compromise with you somewhat. I will compromise with you somewhat because I don't like that they got rid of their coach and so probably won't play as funny comps anymore. Because I enjoyed the funny comps. And so I will compromise and put them in a summer's breeze. But they're going no lower. They're going in a summer's breeze. And the question is, will they overachieve or underachieve? And I think a lot of people think that they're going to be bad. But based off their first game, they're going to be better than that. And I think they will overachieve.
Which is crazy. Someone needs to release the full team comms of that team. Like, I think it'd be so entertaining.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't understand most of it, but you'd understand the initial call and a bit of the mid-rounding.
Maybe I would understand most of it. That's the question. We don't know.
Yeah, well, I suppose. Okay, let's move on to Furia. I have no positive thoughts about Furia, to be honest. I don't hate them. I think they're just in a broken yoke for me. I can't think of really that much that's positive. Remember when everyone thought they were good for like a week?
Yeah, there was 2 weeks where they looked all right, which is the most damning thing you can say about a Valorant organization. There were 14 days where we believed. I'm thinking though, do I have strong feelings either way? Like I know they're bad. I know they are. But I just don't care. Like
Yeah, that's a
they've
fair
gone
point.
so far down the list that they actually go back into the middle for me of like utterly neutral because I just don't care.
That's honestly that's very fair.
I've already hit the acceptance stage of grief. Like with you know, like when I was talking about 2G before, and I was like, these guys are gonna make me waste my time all the time. They're the thieves of time.
Yeah.
The Furia, I've already accepted it.
Yeah. But are they in the same category as 2G? I mean, they could underachieve. They could be worse than 2G.
Yeah, they actually could underachieve.
Do you think they will though?
No. I don't think they're going to underachieve.
Okay. So they're more likely to overachieve.
I think so.
Unfortunately. It would be very funny to put them there. But okay, fine. We'll put them in overachieve.
But this tier list is about truth, not humor.
yeah, there's no humor in this tier list. There's no humor at all. FOT. I feel vaguely positive about FOT. They're an honest team. They always are. I remember when they first came into partnerships, everyone thought they were going to be one of the worst teams because no one knew anything about them.
Really? I can't remember that.
Like at lock-in and stuff. Who did they play? It was FOT versus like EG or something. And people were like, "Oh, this is going to be the worst game of all time." But FOT
I seem to remember they played against 100 Thieves. I don't know why I have that in my head. Maybe they did.
Yeah, I think they did in like the second round or something. But yeah, I just feel positive about FOT. I'd put them in a Summer's Breeze. No higher, but I'd put them in a Summer's Breeze. I genuinely like them. Always kind of.
Oh, it was FOT against RRQ. I just looked it up. That was the opener.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that did sound like a bad game at the time. Yeah. Yeah, I think they're honest. They are honest Valorant players, and I quite like watching them.
Okay. Well, it sounds like a Summer's Breeze. Not stealing milk, but a Summer's Breeze.
No. Yeah, summer milk, neutral, somewhere around there for me.
What are they an overachieving team though? I mean, what is overachieving for? I would say overachieving is probably like making it deep in a tournament. Can they do that?
I think they can. I think they can do that.
You think?
Yeah, I think they, to me, are the gatekeeper team, and I think they're more likely to go on a run than they are to shit the bed.
Okay. I mean, I think that's fair, honestly. Yeah, like if I'm setting the bar, can they finish fourth in an international? I could see that. I mean, it's even possible that really, like EMEA is, I would say, fairly open.
They could win EMEA.
Yeah, I think it's possible that they could win EMEA if things go right for them, and especially if like Vitality, change tracks and stuff, and maybe struggle a little bit off that. Okay, G2, a team that famously didn't make it in to partnerships the first time around, have snuck their way in through a backdoor shady deal, and then have been, well, I would say they overachieved last year versus people's expectations, and then obviously this year, I mean, they're just very good. It's hard not to like, I think, the G2 players and coaching staff. Yeah. I think they just seem very, very wholesome, very good people. So it's kind of difficult because the org obviously has a history that people might not like as much, but the team also, itself,
like, do they really? Do they really have a history of stuff that people don't like? They were just like an edgy, or like back when they used to beef with Sentinels and stuff. They were like an edgy org that wasn't very good at tweeting. They, the whole like fuck Sentinels in the clouds, biplane thing or whatever. It was just kind of it was a little bit cringe, because they weren't good enough to be able to back it. But like the going to a party with Andrew Tate, I feel like it's
you
not...
agree with it. That's the difference. A lot of people would be against that, but you're happy for that. You were there, right?
I wasn't there. I wasn't there. To me, the material impact upon the world is a lot smaller than what some of these other rogues are up to. I'll just leave it there because I don't think you want that on your podcast. But for G2, like the best PR repair that they could have done is to sign this team. This team carries them straight to the stealing milk from children from Thatcher's POV tier to me. They are the team you want to root for. They are the team that's gone on one of the best journeys. They stuck together through tier 2 instead of taking tier 1 contracts. The power of friendship powered them through. They went on a run when they actually got to the LAN event. They got into the tier 1 level, but their organization dropped out, so they got denied, and then a groundswell of support got them back into the league, and now they're looking like they can win tournaments. Like, if there was a movie to be made about Valorant, I don't think it would be about EDG, it would be about G2. Like, I think they are the protagonists of VCT. I don't think it would be Sentinels. I don't think it would be EDG.
I
the best story is G2.
I think EDG would be the protagonist. I think that G2 would be the sequel.
It's a good team from China.
Yeah, but I just think they are the protagonists. EDG. I think that G2 would be the sequel film about, you know, the side, like Finding Dory. That's G2. They're the Finding Dory to Finding Nemo. EDG is Finding Nemo.
You're not allowed to greenlight the studios.
But like let's ask this question. I agree with you though. I've as someone who, you know, is from EMEA and therefore, you know, is anti-NA, I like G2. Like I just like this team. I liked this team last year with Icy as well, when everyone was, you know, everyone would spam just ZZZ in my chat when G2 were playing. But I always liked them because they played nice, like honest, good Valorant. And I like that. The thing is, is overachieving for G2 winning 2 internationals? Because
no, I think overachieving is
it's just one.
Oh well, yeah.
But people expect them to win one.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think achieving would be winning 1, wouldn't it?
So overachieving would be winning 2, which I think again is, even though they're very good, it's a tough task.
Overachieving might be being clearly the best team in the world for the year. Do you know what I mean? Like, even if they only won one event, they could win both stages of Americas, make second place. Like, even if they literally made second in every tournament, but it was a different winner
style.
Yeah, like that, they could actually end up being the best team, and that would still be. Then again, I think people would still just say that they kind of choked by not winning a final if they did that, even if they were the best team of the year.
I think it's
very difficult.
Yeah, but the thing is,
they kind of have to under.
They kind of have to under, but like, I don't think that they'll be bad. Like, I think that they will make. Well, then again, it's part. You could have a bad day, I suppose. So yeah, let's put them in under. But, I think it's more likely that they achieve.
Yes,
they just achieve, rather than overachieve, which would probably be like winning 1 international. Okay, global esports. If you were Indian, you might have a negative view on this team.
Yeah, I don't know. Do they have a negative? Do they have a positive? The fan base is bizarre, to be honest with you. They really are. They're all over the place.
I mean, Elevated, who used to be on this show, he used to sit where you're sitting right now. Not in your chair, but, you know, on the screen. He now works for them, which does make me feel positive about them. I feel positive about this team because they hired my friend to work for them. So
Nepo.
It is nepotism. It's pure nepotism. But it is what it is. That's the way the world works, unfortunately.
I think this year I'm feeling way more positive about them than I have done in previous years.
Yes.
Whether that'll actually bear out is hard to know, because they certainly could just kind of fizzle away and be a, you know, just miss out on playoffs kind of team. And honestly, that wouldn't even be that bad considering how competitive Pacific looks, but it would be a bit of an underperformance. I gotta say though, I don't care that much about global. Okay. Like, I think they're in the Ant and Deck tier for me, because it's a little annoying seeing how much the fan base is swinging from one side to the other on their opinions about the org and what they should do and the direction they should take. And I think they haven't really got a collective vision for what they want from their own team. That's the thing that bothers me. They either want Indian representation if they're going to be bad, or them to actually be good.
Yeah.
But the problem is you can't know whether a team is actually going to be good. You can't decide this year we are going to actually be good.
Yeah. I think the academy
that's
team
what everyone's
system does help a team like Global a lot, though, because they can still claim that, hey, we're still trying to support Indian talent, whilst also still trying to, you know, our best to win. I think that's been a big help to them. I feel strongly that they should be in a Summer's Breeze because of nepotism.
Yep, that's fine.
I think it's more likely they overachieve than underachieve, because I think that people would still put them towards the like lower middle of the pack. But then again, Pacific is very tough. But I would say it's more likely they move up that than down.
Really? Because I think it's more likely they might underachieve a little bit. I think this is the first year where people are actually excited that Global could be like making playoffs and going on a bit of a run.
But making playoffs is just fourth, don't forget. Like if remember, 4 out of 6 do make playoffs.
Oh no. Yeah, that's very true.
So not making playoffs is pretty bad, to be honest. You're in the bottom 4 teams. Like, you're actually quite bad.
But the bottom 4 teams in Pacific are not going to be terrible. Who's in the bottom 4? Zeta.
I mean, you don't think Team Secret, but a lot of people would put Team Secret.
Yeah,
Boom,
Team
maybe.
Secret.
Okay. And then
possibly Global.
Global, DFM, yeah. Question mark. Someone underachieves.
It's up to you.
Look, to respect Elevated's legacy on this show and the many episodes that he was on before, I'm going to put them here, but I do worry. And this is just pure... Just protecting the legacy of Cosmic Divide, essentially. And that this is just to prove we knew what we were talking about all along. So clearly Global will overachieve, because, you know, we wouldn't spout nonsense on this show.
Of course not.
No. Okay, Gen.G. Now, I mean, I think the Gen.G roster from last year, I don't see anything that Gen.G have done before in Valorant, I don't care about. Couldn't care less. But the Gen.G of last year, I really took a liking to. I was really quite happy when they won Shanghai, especially in the library. The library of Shanghai was so amazing. And that was good. Texture is one of my favorite players. And so I want to put Gen.G in the milk snatcher tier. What say you?
I'm not feeling them in the milk snatcher tier just because it's only based off 1 year. Like they have been around for longer than 1 year.
They have been, and I feel nothing about
from that. Exactly, they would be purely in the Ant and Deck tier. So I think they got to go positive. There's no major negatives. Now the only negative you could say is the org did really mismanage the like PR situation around how they talked about their like the sponsor stuff to cause all of the like Chinese hate towards them in the first place. But fair enough, that's a difficult, it's difficult PR thing to manage. It's not like they deliberately tried to make the Chinese fans hate the players.
But then that also, I think, increased my enjoyment of them winning Shanghai.
Yeah. I would say just because they have existed as an organization doing bollocks all basically before this and might be making some weird roster changes this year.
It all comes back to Rare Atom. Yeoman, it all comes back to Rare Atom.
It's not necessarily Yeoman, it's that I don't know what to expect from Ash and Suggest as well. Like the point that we're recording this right now, we don't know what Gen.G is going to be looking like in the future, right? Like we had like an eighth place team or something. We've still got pretty high expectations. We're expecting to still enjoy watching the team. If it all collapses, then we're going to feel a lot more back down towards the lower end. I would say a Summer's Breeze.
You'd say a Summer's Breeze. I like Texture too much, and I like the story of Karen as well. I remember doing a plant chat where NordVPN was sponsoring it, and I still remember saying that Karen, no one knew anything about him because he's using NordVPN. I just enjoyed that. Now, I guess it's more likely for Gen.G to underachieve than overachieve, right? Has to be. Because, like you say, there is a possibility that it all falls apart. And overachieving for Gen.G would probably, be winning an international?
No, I think winning even in Pacific.
You think that would be... I would maybe put them here then. Because I think that's... I mean, I picked them to do that, so... But
yeah, fair enough. No, I think Pacific is fairly open as well, isn't it? DRX, T1. Yeah. So I think they're more likely to under, though.
Yeah. Okay. BLG still sitting at the top of that list, feeling pretty. Okay, Giants. Now, here's the thing about Giants. They are the quintessential Anton deck, don't care. But are they so Anton deck that they're actually negative?
No, I don't care.
Well, I'm not going to dispute you. I don't think anyone would dispute that Giants just logically fit into this group. I mean,
Yeah,
they are
just don't care.
just don't care. Well, let's just move on then. Are they going to overachieve or underachieve?
Don't care.
Just put them in under then. Put them in under. Move on.
I don't
JDG. No, move on. JDG.
I don't care about JDG
No,
either.
I
And
don't
I know
either.
that's a
Don't
lot
care
of those
at all.
players are like the rare Adam guys
Yeah.
as well. So this is undermining your narrative that I care super heavily about them. But as soon as they
As soon as
split
they
up,
move
basically,
from Rare Atom, don't care.
yeah,
Don't
don't
care.
care as much.
JDG gonna overachieve? Do I have any expectation for them?
That might over a little.
Yeah, they might overachieve a little, but who cares? Okay, now we can. I'm just gonna let you take the floor. Go on, Karmine Corp. I hate
Karmine Corp. The fan base. Oh my god, they are like at the beginning of them entering into Valorant. They like 99% of them had no clue what they were talking about. Like no clue, and yet they were the exact embodiment of the goddamn what's it called of the syndrome where you think you know a lot and so you're hyper confident about it.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Is it the
Anyway.
Dunning-Kruger? Is that
Yes, Dunning-Kruger effect. Thank you. So they were the living embodiment of the Dunning-Kruger effect. They were so aggro and so confident that their team was going to be good when they were so obviously utter wank. Unfortunately, I really do like what Eng and Zeish have put together. Like with their vision last year and this year. Reality is though, they're not actually playing that well this year. They did okay, but the vision has not played out perfectly. I feel like adding Sadak has yet to really do much.
Yeah.
I tell you what, for my brand, I want to hate this team. But I can't hate them because they've stopped doing the stupid stuff. And that was the whole reason I hated them in the first place.
But that made you also love them.
Yeah, but the love originally was completely ironic.
But then it turned into something real, no?
Exactly. It was like an arranged marriage. Eventually, sometimes you come around and you learn to love.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, the 2023 Karmine Corp gave us some of the best moments. Some of the funniest moments of Valorant history.
I think they will continue to give us some funny moments in Valorant history too.
I mean, yeah, signing Sadak is absolutely a gateway to funny moments. However, as a Karmine Corp lover, are they more likely to overachieve or underachieve? I mean, where's the expectation for Karmine Corp? Probably like make internationals.
Yeah, and I think they're more likely to underachieve that.
That feels rough, doesn't it? Feels rough, but
I don't think so.
You seem to have soured on them a little bit here.
No, I wish that I could put this org still in the absolute bottom tier. I wish I could be a hate watcher again. But alas, I don't think that's going to be a possibility.
The heart's already made that comment. Okay, Koi. Again, Koi I would say are slightly annoying because they've just done absolutely nothing. But I don't really feel. Do you feel much about Koi?
I dislike them. I don't know why, but I have not yet accepted the fact that Koi are wasting my time every week. I can't explain why I've accepted it with
years of doing it. Still haven't accepted it. Crazy.
No.
Yeah, we can put him in a broken yoke, though. Again, Koi are in this strange spot where, again, the expectations are very low. So I feel like that it's tough for them to underachieve. So yeah, I think they have to go there. KRU. Now, KRU, of course, are the symbol of one of your great follies. The 0-9 team is going to go on a run. And then they did. A magical storyline that played out in front of our eyes. Does that make you feel vengeful against KRU for proving you wrong and making you look stupid? Or does that make you feel good about them for having a nice story?
Now, Okay, I will admit that I looked stupid, but I'll tell you who looked even stupider. Them when they went on stage and lost 9 times in a fucking row when they were capable of actually winning the entire time. You stupid asses. You stupid asses. You waited an entire year to activate your full potential. And guess what? You do it frequently. You're always the team that like gets into champs at the very end of the year by going on some kind of a run. Have you thought about maybe waking up and playing some Valorant earlier on in the year? I hope that crew do well this year. I really do, because it's fucking frustrating that they activate towards the end. They piss me off. They piss me off, this team.
The thing is as well, when they went
the opposite of Cloud9.
When they went 0-9, like it wasn't like they were DFM. The games were, a lot of games were pretty close, and they just would choke and
yes,
lose.
They were FPX. They were fucking FPX, where they would get close to the finish line and then just fall over, get close, fall over, get close, fall over and over and over again. They were infuriating to watch, and then they just decided to activate in the playoffs in LCQ. So
you sound pretty negative. Team. Oh, are you down here, Serial with water level?
No.
Okay.
No. Because I do still enjoy watching the team play. They have an aggressive, loose style, and they're all very confident, and it's fun to watch them.
Yeah, I would probably put them in neutral. Sounds like you want to put them in a broken yoke, so that's where we'll put
broken
them.
Yoke over.
Over, you think? Because I think the expectations are fairly high. I
think
Dryad thinks that this is the best team in the world. I mean, she always does, but
yeah, of course. But I think she's more correct than we realize.
But I did an America's tier list, and people in my comments, I mean, who I guess are more informed about general, like that they keep up with the scene probably a bit more than the average VCT viewer.
You think your viewers are more
keep up with the
intelligent than the average?
In terms of VCT, and more intelligent in general, absolutely not. I've seen what they say. More intelligent in terms of VCT knowledge, yeah, I do.
Right. Okay. I'll take
that. And they're pretty high on crew. They were all like, put crew in 3rd or 4th. Like, most people seem to think that. Now, maybe you're right, the average, because I think if you went into Tarek's chat, for instance, they think crew are probably like the 8th best team.
Yeah, they've got to think like G2, then Sentinels, then
all the NA teams basically, and then crew.
I would assume so.
So you think they should be an over because of that? If we take Tarek's chat as our average?
Yeah, I think so. And God help us if we take large streamers' chats as the average intelligence of any community, actually.
Okay. Lev. Oh, Lev is a tough one for me because, I mean, last year, their bundle. Wow. Amazing.
I like this org.
Yeah, I like Lev in general. This year, though, I'm not sure I'm feeling Lev. I'm kind of a bit annoyed at Lev. But I think on the whole, you're right. I like Lev.
That's because you love Natank.
Partly, yes. Partly. You're right.
I think they're a confused team this year.
Yeah.
And I think last year they were frustrating when they went to Shanghai. And so that led to a lot of negativity around them.
And they actually did pretty well at Champs.
Yeah, they did pretty well at Champs. The whole Aspas thing was very odd. And the org, like cutting Nozwa on Christmas Eve and stuff, they've definitely made some strange decisions, some maybe poor management decisions as well. But when I think about Leviatan, I'm thinking about when they first came on the scene. In
2022, it was nice, yeah.
It was really fun to watch them. I've really enjoyed watching King kind of develop. I appreciate that the org is trying to find success by holding on to some of its roots as a LATAM team, but branching out and trying to make the full use of being part of the Americas. And yeah, I like their branding, and I usually enjoy watching them play, although that is getting stretched over time. Yeah.
I'm happy to put them in a Summer's Breeze over the course of their time in Valorant.
Yeah.
I would say that's where they are. I would put them in underachieve, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they're an underachieve type team. So, okay. Let's move on to Loud. Another kind of traditional fan favorite org, I think. People, if we talk about Lev coming into the scene, when Loud first came into the scene, it was, it was all guns blazing. I mean, they didn't lose a game until the Reykjavik final, right? That was the first game they lost.
Yeah, that was the first game that they lost. And even then, when we got to the lock-in finals, I think there was only at that point like two teams that had ever beaten them.
Yeah.
I think it was only Optic and Crew at that point that had ever beaten Loud. And then Fnatic were the third team to have beaten them. They're a legendary team, but the legend is starting to waver and wobble. Yeah. They're a bit like Fnatic currently. I think if you'd asked me this a year ago, and we'd just come off the back of Loud having a good kickoff, even with the changes that they'd made and losing Sassy Pancada, etc., and even losing Aspas. Midway through last year, I would have still said top tier team. Like this is a team of legends.
Well, yeah, because they started last year very well. Kickoff. I mean, they made it to Madrid.
Yeah.
You know, they looked like the best team from kickoff.
Yeah. Playing unusual stuff still.
Yeah.
But yeah. I think they didn't look as good as Sentinels, did they? I remember us having
in the
Sentinels
first part of kickoff until the grand final, but they did beat Sen like early in kickoff last year.
Right. I think it's a summer's breeze. I think it's a breeze of nostalgia.
Yeah.
I think it's a breeze of wonderful times gone by, but they have left us now.
Yes.
And the legend of this team is that, a legend, a myth, something immortalized and left in the past. And that's not a bad thing. That's something rosy and can never be shifted and tainted. That's something now. Yeah, it happened.
But are Loud gonna overachieve or underachieve? Tough one, I would say, because I could definitely see the argument for both. Because I think most people put them as like a middling America's team. And so, like, could they make like top 4? Maybe even sneak into like a 3rd place and make an international? Yeah, I could see that.
I think a lot of us actually power ranked them low at the beginning of the year, didn't we?
Yeah.
Didn't we have them as a bottom 4 team?
Yeah.
I think we had them not making.
We had them by
playoffs.
EG, didn't we? They were like.
I think they're going to overperform. I think they're going to make playoffs.
Okay. Oh yeah, I would expect them to make playoffs. I mean, they already showed a decent level at kickoff, so yeah, I'm happy to put them there. Okay, gentlemates, you don't need to talk about this one because I fucking hate this team. I hate that we're here on an Acend podcast for a start. So already they're going, wait, they're in cereal with water 100%. I hate their fucking logo. I hate their fucking colors. I fucking hate so much about this org. They destroyed Acend in Natank destroyed Acend single-handedly in Ascension. And so yeah, I just fucking hate gentlemates. And always will. So they're going in cereal with water. It's just, I mean, you were eating cereal, it looked like there.
Cereal, no water.
No water, but that's where gentlemates are going. Are they, will they underachieve? I mean, I think there is some hope for this team, but not a ton. So
they also have just changed their IGL.
Yeah, they have also just changed their IGL. I'm fucking putting them there.
God, get him. Get him, TMV, get him.
Okay, MIBR, a team that I think before this season, we would have probably just put as I don't give a shit about this team at all because they've done nothing in Valorant's history. However, now they have Aspas. So now what?
I think this one's very tough. Here's my thought process, though. You're right in saying that we would have either not cared about them or disliked them, right? They would have gone somewhere down there. But the fact that they got Aspas was nothing more than a lucky coincidence. Aspas was going to bleed. He was going to get the mega bucks at bleed. And then all of his other options fell through.
Yeah.
And he wanted out of Leviatan. And he went to MIBR, and they were able to open up the purse strings, I would guess slightly, nowhere near as much as Bleed or Lev previously, maybe.
Yeah.
This is me speculating. And they were able to acquire him. They also gave him the keys to the castle in terms of maneuvering the roster. And they've already made changes based on that. They started with a roster that got them to 3rd place at kickoff. They've already shifted and got rid of Nozza already to bring in Verno. That's so bizarre. So, like, even the stuff that you like about them at the beginning of this year looks like it might be going off the rails early.
Yeah.
So I'm cautious to put them anywhere above. Like, I don't think we can put them in the positive, even though we might be more excited about them this year. Even though they might be, they're a bit like a DFM.
Maybe let's put them next to DFM. Do you think they'll underachieve though? I think the expectations now, having been they've done well in kickoff, I think they will underperform from that.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think they'll be like a 6th or 7th team in Americas. But I think people will expect them to be better than that now. So yeah, I'm happy with that. Navi, a tough one again for me because like the current version of Navi is kind of like, ugh. But Angel has also given us so many moments of joy.
He has
throughout the years, both bad and good. What say you on Navi?
I think their decision to drop Doom Bros was spectacularly stupid. I think that they have been an extremely unlucky team as well in terms of the exact situation we're just talking about where Doom Bros left or was cut was based on them losing, like, what was it, 2 games to the winners that they just happened to interact with in the worst possible parts of the bracket.
Yeah.
Right. And then in the past, denied the ability to go to Masters 1 Reykjavik when they could have won. I can't remember if they were playing for FBX or Navi at the time.
That was FBX at that point. But yeah.
Right, okay. But same team core. And they weren't able to go to that event because of visa issues. They've been plagued by... They've been a Shakespearean tragedy, to be honest, this team. But I don't think their legend is large enough to make me look back on it with nostalgia. I think I just remember the bad times. Not that it's their fault, but I just tend to remember the bad times, the missed opportunities, the times when they could have won a tournament but didn't quite. They're one of the most forgotten... Again, it's not even their organization because it wasn't Navi at the time, it was FPX.
Yeah,
but they're one of the most forgotten Masters winners.
Yeah.
I think they're in the Ant and Deck tier for me.
I think I agree, which feels for like a team, you would say, or a core that had such a legacy, that's played in a lot of, like, you know, important banger games like throughout Valorant's history. Yeah, it is kind of sad that they're going in here. And now, I mean, again, I feel like the expectations are pretty low. I feel like they're more likely to overachieve than underachieve.
Yeah.
Because I do think that expectations are fairly low for them. But yeah, it's almost quite sad. It's quite fitting of the tale of Navi, really, to put them in a tier where it's just like kind of a sad ending.
Yeah, exactly.
But unlucky. Okay, Nongshim, new on the scene, exciting team. You know, play a very distinct style. Generally, I would say I'm pretty positive about them. The one thing I would say I'm negative about is the Sin Prisa logo was far superior to this shit.
Yeah, it's not a great logo.
So I would have
Nongshim's a better name, though.
Nongshim is a better name. But I feel I would put them in a Summer's Breeze. I generally quite like this team.
Yeah, I was thinking if they'd been around for longer, I'd even think about throwing them in the Stealing Children's Milk. From Thatcher's POV. I struggle with the name of that tier. But I don't think they've been around for long enough to get themselves into the top tier. So yeah, Summer's Breeze.
But are they more likely to overachieve or underachieve? Because there is some expectation for this team.
Yeah, I think top 4 would be the expectation, right? Top 4, top 5, something like that.
Yeah.
I think they're more likely to under, actually, because
close.
Pacific's close. And me personally, I've yet to be convinced by their
style.
Their style. You've got to show something other than neon fade compositions. And they might well do. Like stage 1, they might come out and they might play fantastically on some new meta stuff. And then I'll change my mind. But until then, need to see the evidence.
Makes sense. Nova, I feel nothing about this team.
Yeah, I agree. They actually play some all right Valorant, but not good enough to get me excited. So throw them in the Ant and Deck tier, I reckon.
Yeah. I guess
people don't.
Yeah, I guess
people actually do expect a little bit from them, but yeah, they'll probably overachieve.
Okay. An interesting one, NRG. An org with, I mean, again, it's kind of a strange one because, of course, the NRG team that you think about, of course, took Optic, but it technically wasn't their org. But since being on NRG, we've seen some fairly high highs and some extremely low lows.
What are the highs?
They did pretty well during lock-in and kind of the first part of 2023.
Well, was it the first part of 2023, or was it just lock-in?
I thought they did. I thought they did all right.
Well,
Didn't they finish
did
like
they make it?
fourth or third?
Did they make it to Tokyo? I can't remember now.
Hold on, if only we could check these things.
Yeah, yeah, they did. They made it to Tokyo. Actually, they made it fairly deep.
Yeah, didn't they finish?
I don't even
third?
remember. Yeah, I don't remember that.
Fourth.
I do not have a memory of that at all. I mean, I remember them being really good at lock-in. I remember that.
Yeah, they played a banger game versus Loud that they narrowly lost.
Now, this is going to be unfair because when we talked about Na'Vi, we talked about the legacy of FPX as well.
Yeah.
But everything that NRG have done as a core that was legendary was with Optic. And I feel like NRG did the classic thing of buying the stock at the peak and just watching it slowly lose value over time.
Yeah. Yeah. And at some point, to quickly lose value.
Yeah, occasionally. Yep. Yeah. So
you don't like
this one? It's not that I hate them or anything, but I think there's in recent history, there's more to be frustrated about, or there's more that hasn't worked than has succeeded. But and it depends. Like, are we talking about, well, this year, they were fun to watch because Finesse was pieing all the time. That was just fun to watch. Watching Mada and Som desperately try to carry Finesse was incredible entertainment. Watching them last year fumble around with awful IGLing was painful, but again,
funny.
It was actually very funny.
It was funny levels of bad, yeah.
So really maybe I'm kind of talking myself around because even though this was disastrous Valorant, some of it, they've been funny or good.
Yeah, there's entertainment there.
So there's a lot of entertainment there.
I would say I'm because of the ups and downs, I would say I end up vaguely neutral, but are you convincing yourself to be a summer's breeze?
If I see NRG are playing a game, I want to tune in because either it's going to be funny or it's going to be good. So I think I'm going to put it in a summer's breeze, yeah.
Okay. Now, are NRG more like to... What is the expectation of... I mean, the expectations I still think have to be fairly high for NRG. I think the general community would still think that this is a team that should be, going to internationals. So I think they're more like to underachieve that.
Yep, I agree. Even though I believe in the NRG bounce back, I am one of the people in the community who think they should be able to make it to an international, and I'm probably going to be disappointed. But you know what? It'll probably be funny.
Yes. Okay, now, this next team is the entire reason for this idea. I thought, I'm getting Sideshow on this, and he fucking hates Paper Rex, as we know. And I'm a Paper Rex, I'm a paper boy at heart. Have been since 2021. How much do you really hate Paper Rex?
Why do you think I hate Paper Rex?
Because you want to cut the entire team. You want to change their style. They're perhaps the most iconic, like, in terms of just, like, style for a team. Probably the most iconic in all of Valorant, in terms of the way that they play. And you have decided that it doesn't work. Stop fucking trying it. Go home.
If I was optimizing for enjoyment, if I was treating this as WWE, as a pure entertainment product, I wouldn't be advocating for cutting these players. I'd be advocating for sending them out there every day until they're 80 years old doing the same.
Well, I hate to break it to you. Doing. This is an entertainment product.
But it's supposed to be each team trying to optimize for success. And that's how you get the entertainment out of it. The kind of playing just because you have a funny style is supposed to be secondary to your goal of winning stuff. And if you have a goal of success, then Paper Rex need to make some level of changes. And I think they need to make some large-scale changes because, as you've said, I don't think the playstyle is working. If your metric is success, if your metric is, we have infinite money here at Paper Rex and we don't care if we win or lose, we're just trying to get fans. And the fans are going to come not by winning, as most organizations have it, but by playing the most kind of goofy, awesome style we can. Well, then keep the players forever. Keep them and keep trotting Jing out on his 90-second occurrence. Have him get 3,000 kills and 4,000 deaths in Pacific next year. Why not? Send him in. But the point is, I like watching Paper Rex, but in order to have them succeed, they need to make changes. This is a list about whether you or not you like them. I quite like watching them. I think they're fun to watch. Are they frustrating at times? Do you mold about how uncoordinated they are? Yes. Is it starting to become a little bit like a broken record? That's my only complaint in terms of enjoyment. Is that it's the same shit, different ass. It's over and over again. Like,
Is that a saying?
It's just that's a very famous saying. So it's just all of the same narratives, all of the same. Should we make a change? It's tired at this point. But when they get on the server, they're still either gonna play some good stuff, some fun stuff, or some funny stuff. The 13-1 loss to DFM is funny. The good stuff that they do occasionally is great to watch. And otherwise, if they're just playing fast-paced, like even Valorant with a bad team, it's still enjoyable because they play a chaotic style.
See, I would say for me, Paper Rex, one of the main things about this org that is so enjoyable is the conflicting, contrasting emotions. They have mastered the art of playing whimsical, fun Valorant and then losing in grand finals in crushing ways. And that to me is a wonderful dichotomy of emotions, right? Of pure whimsy and pure tragedy. And I don't think any other team even comes close in terms of getting to that kind of level of, joy and sadness. And that for me, go on.
If G2 continue to lose this year, it's not whimsy, but it's that almost underdog rooting for the good guys, rooting for the Ascension team to go through and make it. If that team ends up bombing out of a bunch of finals, I think it'll be similar.
Yeah, they will be getting there. Yes, where just it almost feels like Paper X's story was like destined to be the team that never quite did it. Like the team that everyone wanted to, but they just couldn't quite do it. And that to me puts them in stealing children's milk. Just for the history of the org and the joy. Like, again, I understand what you mean that like perhaps in 2025 we are coming towards the end of a chapter or maybe even the end of the book. And I get what you mean, but I do think that for the entire history of the org, like, you go back to, I mean, even when they first started. Funny you bring up G2, because of course I would say Paper Rex are linked quite well to those players as well. That is when they beat the Guard at Reykjavik was when they first kind of really announced themselves as like, oh, we're actually a very good team. Like, it's not just whimsy, we're actually good. So it's kind of, oh god, imagine if Paper Rex met G2 in a final. I think the world might explode.
That would be incredible, actually.
The thing is, I would guess that most people, the community's expectation is that Paper Rex are still going to be pretty good.
How can you have that expectation based off what they've done?
Because they just read the name.
It's TYLOO. It's like,
well, but you surely must think they're more likely to underachieve than overachieve. Is my point.
No, I think they're bad right now, so they're more likely to overachieve. I think they're currently quite crap, and I think that you'd have to be coping so hard to think that like Paper Rex are going to be able to do something currently. So I think they're more likely to over.
Okay.
But if you're telling me that most people in the community
I'm thinking of Tyrik's chat, but I think you're right. We can't base everything off Tyrik's chat. But yeah, I agree. Anyone who's paying attention, the TMV chat thinks that Paper Rex are shit.
Right. So then I think they're more likely to overachieve because there is a chance that they get something together, and Pacific is very close. So
and maybe they just turn up and turn into the godly aimers again. So sure, we'll put them in overachieve. ARQ, I don't
struggle to care.
Struggle to care. Yeah, I mean
it's one of the most remarkable things ever to me that Choba attached himself to such a team that most people don't care about.
I think that's quite endearing, to be honest.
I know, but it's like having a regular guest who's really big on Giants. It's like, why? Why have you picked that team? Why have you picked that team to go for? Like, yeah, we've seen them do some stuff occasionally, but
team that is just okay.
Yeah.
And the thing is with RRQ as well, they always underachieve because there always is some level of hope for RRQ. I feel like every year we start the year.
There still is, by the way.
Yeah, there is now. But that means they're more likely to underachieve, I think.
Yep.
Because everyone always puts them as like, oh yeah, they could do. Everyone always says they're a dark horse, and then they end up not doing that much.
Yeah.
That's just RRQ. Okay, we've come to the. I mean, Sen fans would probably be disappointed that earlier on we said that EDG were the. Oh, you said G2 might be the protagonist.
I said G2.
But I
did mention Sentinels, but I don't think Sentinels are the protagonists.
Be honest. How do you actually feel about Sentinels? Because, of course, Sentinels come with more than just the org. They come with the fan base as well.
The fans are really not that bad. The fans, I think they have so many fans that they don't have a unified culture. So Karmine Corp are so heavy on the like ultra side of things.
Yeah.
And they follow them from game to game. But Sentinels are amazing. They're basically a Valorant org. Like, you're not a fan of Sentinels in Valorant because you're a fan of Booga from Fortnite. You're a fan because they signed tens and won the first tournament. So most of the fans are from Valorant, which means that they don't have a like us v them culture. It's almost like it's like, you know, it's like they are the dominant prevalent culture in Valorant.
Yeah.
You notice other teams' cultures because they are different.
Yeah.
You don't notice Sentinels because most people are Sentinels.
Sentinels are the straight white man.
Exactly. Basically, that is the case. So I think but also they're not obnoxious like some teams like 100 Thieves, for example. I feel like the fan base is like actively obnoxious. It doesn't matter what's happening. The 100 Thieves fans are whining about something. The Sentinels fans are biased for sure.
Oh, heavily.
But I guess maybe it's because they don't have a reason to be as upset at the moment. But I seem to remember when Sentinels were still doing crap, they were just kind of like, they still were just like the really big fans of the players and stuff.
Yeah. They live for the hype. I mean, the Shroud signing and stuff like that. You know, they live for the hype.
I just think of them as children. I just think of them basically as children. They're harmless. They're just children.
Yeah, that's fair. That's definitely
I hold no ill will towards Sentinels. I guess there are a few.
I have been attacked by Sen fans before from some things that I've said. Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. But I do think that is more like there are like you say, there are some who will attack you that are the fervent real children. But then there are enough other Sen fans that are just like because I'll make a video sometimes about a Sen, like if they played a bad game, for instance, right? Let's say against Team Liquid, right? And there are some Sen fans who are a level of deluded that don't like when, you know, I criticize Sentinels. The worst occasion of this, okay, the absolute worst was, I think it was in 2023 or 2024, Loud played against Sentinels, and Loud played a really bad game. And so I made a video about Loud, and half the comments were, why aren't you talking about Sentinels? Even though the video was just about Loud. But half the comments were like, but why aren't you just praising Sentinels instead? So I have been annoyed by Sen fans in the past. However, I would say that you're right in the... Certainly, I would say now, maybe they've mellowed out a bit because, you know, they generally get, you know, a decent amount of respect for not being shit. But I would probably hold a somewhat neutral opinion on Sentinels.
Yeah. Can I be honest? I don't actually care about Sentinels. It's funny to care about them because the community does, but it's almost like you're forced to care about them because other people do. In reality, I don't give too much of a shit. I did think the original, like when they fell off after Reykjavik, that was interesting. There was a real interesting story there about how a team that had dominated the first LAN could then fall off so quickly afterwards to the point where they weren't even that relevant at the goal of winning titles. And then when they had their bad years, that was just a bit painful, to be honest. It just felt like they had no hope. The resurgence of them looking good again was almost remarkable because it came a little out of nowhere. because they were at a really low point the year before
Yes.
when they were headed towards champions, and then Madrid was like,
won the first
well,
Masters, yeah.
I guess it didn't come out of nowhere because they were playing a lot of off-season tournaments and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
you could see it coming a little while off.
But no one expected them to be that good that quick. I think we were building up expectations, but it was like, oh shit, they just won straight away.
Yeah, and I like Zekken. I genuinely enjoy watching Zekken's career.
I like Zekken too.
I don't really care about the other players on the team. I suppose I enjoyed watching Narrate when he was part of Karmine Corp, but the more Narrate I've watched, like towards the end of that season last year and this season, he hasn't really become the player that I was hoping he would, and still it seems like there's a lot of barriers to him becoming the player that he can be. So yeah, just generally, I think they're in the Ant and Deck tier.
I would agree, because like, as I said, I've had some negative experience with Sen in general, and people, you know, hating on me or whatever, what I've said. But also, when Sen win, it's good for me. It's good for business. It's good for views. Yeah. It gets me money. Like, Sen winning pays me more money.
Sure.
So there are positives and negatives to Sen, I suppose. So yeah, I'm happy to put them in the Ant and Deck tier. Also, that's quite funny and will definitely rile up some Sen fans as well, which is something that I do enjoy doing.
It will, but yeah, their team's bland. They're a little bland.
Are they more likely to over or underachieve though? Sen. Ooh.
Under, I think. And the reason for this is that beginning of the year, we still had them top 3, top 4.
Yeah.
We had NRG and G2, and then I think we had Sentinels, if I'm not remembering incorrectly.
Something like that, yeah.
And having got top 2 and made it to Bangkok is very good. Now, part of the reason for that is that NRG shit the bed. And so kind of that pushes them up, right? There was an open
spot, yeah.
Yeah, there was an open spot. But also what Sentinels did was not that impressive at the start of the year, and I think they've still got a lot of stuff that they need to figure out. So yeah, I think they're more likely to go down from here as other teams figure stuff out quicker than them, maybe.
Yeah, I could see that. I think that's reasonable, because like you say, most people probably have them as the second team in Americas. So to overachieve, they would need to be better than G2.
That's a tentative spot as well that they're holding on to.
Yeah, they're like just holding on to second. But it is like, who else would you put there? Okay, T1. Now, T1 is an interesting one, because I think we shared the same views of T1 coming into this year, that I don't know what it was. I just didn't like T1 that much. I just didn't think they were very good. I just didn't like them. Just didn't like them.
I didn't think they were going to be very good. I thought that
and then they were.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think that you were going to get excellent performances out of E2 and Sylvan. Turns out at Bangkok, you did.
Yeah.
And I thought that Stax wasn't going to be able to call his way to grand finals and win one. Turns out he could.
Yeah.
So,
and I was very worried, by the way, that this was going to be after that first map of the grand final. I was convinced T1 are going to have made it to this grand final because Vitality and EDG have shit themselves, and now they're just going to lose 3-0 to a team who knows what they're doing, and you've just wasted my time. You've just absolutely wasted my time. I was so worried about that happening after the first map, and fair play to T1, they then turned it into an absolute, arguably the best game of Valorant's history.
But can I be real?
Go on.
I don't care still. Like, really, they've got to go further to make me care about the team.
They just won an international.
I love that for the players that have struggled. So for Buzz and for Stax, I love that for them. On a personal level, I love that for them, that they've been able to achieve that. Meteor has almost had it a bit too easy. I guess he kind of like... Trophies are not coming too difficult to this guy.
Don't you find? I do find Meteor though, calling out your own coach is god tier for me. That makes
I find him to be frustrating. I find him to be a frustrating figure, because that is not conducive to a good team atmosphere. No, it just isn't. Like, it's not
funny for me.
Yeah, but it's not. He's falling into the category of like very talented players whose interpersonal dynamics are probably going to trip them up at some point.
Spoiled child.
And maybe a little bit, maybe. I mean, not as a view on his personality, but on a view of like how he's operating as a player. And I think the way in which he was performing at the beginning of kickoff, where he was trying to take everything onto his own shoulders and just running around doing whatever as well, it's frustrating when you have a player that's clearly capable of like so much more, and then they just kind of play outside of the system because they think that's the best way of succeeding. I still think of this team as being a little dysfunctional and have gone on like one great run where everything clicked. And I've yet to be given a reason to really care heavily about the team. I think I'm pretty heavily invested in Buzz and Stacks. But that is more to do with their time on DRX, not their time on T1.
So let me ask you this question. In 2 years' time, will T1 be like the FPX Masters winners? Where they're kind of like a forgotten Masters winner. Do you think that's possible?
I think it might be possible, but I don't think they'd ever be forgotten, because I think I think Meteor's going to continue to go on and do good things in the future. I think he's just a very talented player. And I think that Buzz and Stacks had so much history that they were bringing into this tournament for T1 that it will be remembered as their,
and it was a banger grand final, so it's unlikely because people will remember the final either way because it was such a crazy game.
Whereas Na'Vi, when they won Copenhagen, they could have won the prior event to that as well, but they weren't allowed to attend. And so people don't remember they weren't allowed to attend. They just remember they weren't there.
Yeah. So it felt like it was out of nowhere, but really it wasn't. So are you saying T1 is Ant and Deck for you?
For me, yeah, they are.
I honestly think that's very fair because, like, before this year, I didn't care about T1 at all. Like,
they were doing nothing.
They were doing nothing. And we, like, most people will feel that this is harsh and, you know, they just want a message. You should put them up here and you like some of the players, whatever. But I'm with you. Like, I think we both would have put G2 still number one.
Yeah.
That's just how we feel about this team. Like,
and I mean, that is exposing our bias again, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's what this is all about.
But I guess they're more likely to underachieve now as well.
Oh, for sure they are.
Because,
I mean, they are.
Overachieving would be, winning the next...
Winning again.
Yeah, winning again. Okay, Trace. Now, here's the thing about Trace. Great logo. Loved their bundle. However, very recently, it's all crumbling apart. Like, if you asked me this before Bangkok, I would probably definitely put Trace in a summer's breeze, feeling positive about this team, like this team. Now, though, I'm having doubts.
They have to still go in a summer's breeze, man. They have to. And here's the reason. You can't overreact to just one performance. They did shit the bed at Bangkok. Historically, they had the worst performance of any team ever at an international event in terms of rounds won. That's disgusting. That's appalling. They should be ashamed. But they're capable of more. They've shown more in the past, and they're one of the only teams in China that plays some good, sensible, fundamental Valorant. So they're a summer's breeze, but they're going to underperform maybe.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I think that's where they have to go. I think that's totally fair. Tech, I feel nothing about them. I just feel like they're keeping RB. I'm kind of sad they've kind of taken RB from me, to be honest.
Yeah, they're a bit of just like a retirement home.
Yeah. They're so bad. Maybe... They can underachieve. No, don't.
All right.
Don't. There is nothing that they can achieve. So, I mean, you might say, oh, wouldn't that mean they're going to overachieve? No, that's how bad they are. Okay. Team Heretics. I think Team Heretics are a very likable team.
Super likable.
Yeah. I think that they're a team, like I was talking about for G2, for me, like as an EMEA fan watching America's team, I'm still kind of rooting for them. I don't know this, but I would think that for NA fans, Team Heretics are the EMEA version of that, right? That they are just a likable team that are pretty good. They've got Benji Fishy, that helps, but the rest of the team as well, I think, is quite likable. I'm not willing. I wouldn't put them in Stealing Milk. Would you?
Oh, I think
you would put them in Stealing Milk.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they've also the Augur's got funny history with like Nisao and Nookie back in the day. Like, there's a tiny bit of that I still remember.
Fine, fine.
But generally speaking, I think just like recent history. Like, do you remember the Mixwell versions of Heretics? I don't. They don't even impress upon my memory anymore.
The thing that wasn't it Karmine Corp Team Heretics, the game where you can't go B now? Wasn't that the Melons game?
Yeah, probably.
That's all I remember from that.
But I don't remember. I wasn't scarred by that version of Heretics. No. Exactly. So most of my memories are now just this new team that I really like.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're super likable. I think that we got the duelist ARQ at Shanghai. We got Paddy coming in, subbing for them.
Stuff was nice as well.
Benji's just a wonderful personality to have in the scene. I think they're stealing children's milk tier from Thatcher's POV, of course.
Are they gonna overachieve though? What is overachieving for Heretics? I mean, their expectation still has to be to win a tournament, right? It has to be.
Yeah, they've already underachieved, and
yeah, they're likely to continue.
Yeah, it's worrying.
That's unfortunate. Another interesting team, Team Liquid. Now, here's the thing. Generally, I would say I've had a fairly negative view on Team Liquid as quite a frustrating team throughout the majority of their history in Valorant. This new version of Team Liquid has given me a lot of joy.
But
in a very strange way.
Joy, yeah, it's the kind of joy that began with pain. It's they're if they had, I mean, they were funny.
Yes.
They're a funny team. They're either funny or good this year. But historically, they've been
so frustrating,
crap or frustrating, and they haven't been funny either.
No,
they've just been
annoying,
like bad or annoying. Yeah. I have negative feelings towards Liquid.
Yes,
but I agree with you that this year I'm enjoying watching their games.
I think that
I'll tune in for a Liquid game this year.
I think this year has taken. I might have put them down here, honestly.
Really?
Before this year, because I think every single roster they've had has annoyed me in one way or another before this one. So, like, if I'm taking that into account, the new roster I think has improved that. But I still have to take that into account that I honestly probably would have put them down here before. So I would put them in a Broken Yoke.
Yeah, let's do it. Broken Yoke. But they've got to be in the over for Broken Yoke, I think.
Yes.
Because they've already overachieved.
They already have overachieved, yes. Quite significantly. But it would be very Liquid to now severely underachieve.
Well, if they're going to put Nats onto Initiator...
that would be so funny, wouldn't it? Don't even make playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's entirely possible. If we watch one game and it looks really bad, we're going to immediately start being reactionaries and putting them into the underachieve camp.
Yeah. Okay, Talon. I don't really feel that much about Talon, to be honest. I don't
like this team.
You don't like them? Okay, explain.
I don't like this team. I don't like the...
In fact, I already knew that. You hate this team.
I really don't like this team, yeah. I think that they overcomplicate things. I think that they don't have enough execution to be able to pull off some of the ideas that they tried to go for. I think that they, the way that Frost works with his teams rubs me the wrong way. The way that they have built the roster now and are trying to go for it doesn't make too much sense to me. I don't like... I think what rubs me the wrong way a lot is the American arrogance of Frost sometimes with the way that he talks about some of his rosters. Like, for example, at Champs, where he was saying, like, we can win this tournament if we just play like we do in scrims. And I'm like, brother, you only got here by the skin of your teeth after picking up Primi. This is a brand new roster that you just put together. Like, you can't... Do you really believe that? Because if you do, I feel like your confidence has become delusion.
Yeah.
But again, we're not inside the scrims. Maybe they are just clowning on everyone in scrims. But even then, surely you as a coach realize that scrims don't always translate to match results, and there's going to be some...
I fucking hate it, because you do get teams saying this quite often. We just need to play like we do in scrims. It's like, yeah, but there's no pressure in scrims, and you're probably just, frying and making stupid decisions and you don't even realize it and getting away with it.
So I think that rubs me the wrong way, but also the fact that they've never really figured out what they want to do with Primi.
Yeah.
They don't have a good plan for Primi. They are putting him on some secondary roles. They're putting him on some duelist roles. Now, after they've made these changes, presumably he's playing duelist because they don't have another duelist in the team, really. So Primi's going to be joining. Primi's going to be changing role. They're going to be adding 2 new players. Like, it just feels like a bit of a... It feels like a little bit of a chaotic soup where occasionally you get some good stuff out of it, but there's no level of consistency to what you're getting out of the camp.
I actually kind of liked their idea with putting him on Sentinel, to be honest. I actually thought that would have been a good direction of just saying, like, on attack side, you just walk around the map and go and win aim duels. You know, just do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
and we'll as the rest of the team, we'll do some plan, and you just fucking lurk wherever you want and fucking just win aim duels, which you will a lot of the time. And then on defense side, you just fucking hold down your site. You know, just we'll tell you where to put util, put it there, set it down before the start of the round, and then just fucking go and hold your site, and we'll be fine. Like, I think that would have been a good plan. Now I guess we'll see if you know, his probable change to duelist. So where would you sound? I mean, I would, as I say, kind of put them in neutral camp. So are you broken yoke or are you cereal with water on this team?
I'm not cereal with water. No,
Okay.
I'm broken yoke, but I'm like further down the broken yoke than some of these other teams.
Yeah.
Like, I feel more strongly. I feel similar to 100 Thieves, actually.
Okay.
Where I'm like pretty down on them.
Okay. Do you think they'll underachieve?
Hard to say what expectations are for this squad, to be honest with you.
I think they'd be looking at making an international.
I think there's so many questions about this new roster. I think I'm more likely to put them in the underachieved category. Yeah.
I think that's somewhat fair if your expectation is that they make an international, which I think is what it should be, to be honest. But yeah, that's fine. Team Secret, don't care.
I agree. I liked the style that they played last year.
Yeah.
The very, like, we've done crazy amounts of homework, big set plays. It was the quintessential beautiful Valorant, where everything is like perfectly timed utility combos and that kind of stuff. End of the day, though, they just got run over by a team that runs at them.
Yeah.
So that's not very good.
Yeah. But they will much more likely to overachieve because people don't think they're very good.
People are very, very, very down on them at the moment.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. TYLOO. It's tough to know what to do with a team like TYLOO, isn't it?
I don't care about them, and I think they're going to be better than people think. Like, slightly. Because when I watch them, they're not as
gluey,
horrible as you might expect for a team at the very, very bottom of China.
Yeah.
And they are roughly at the bottom of China. Like, they're not the 12th team, but they're like, I don't know.
Tekka like the
9,
inverse.
10, something like that.
Well, they are that horrible.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Vitality. Ooh. What do I feel about Vitality? I don't feel much about Vitality, to be honest.
Historically,
I feel almost nothing. This year, I feel vaguely positive, but not that positive, to be honest.
Can I tell you something weird?
Go on.
I'm normally big on good teams doing well. I'm normally very big on upset results not happening. Like, when I watch a match, I want the team that I think is better to win, so that reality plays out in the way that I've already modeled
that's
it.
so. I think that's a very strange worldview. I think most people like if someone is a neutral in a game, I think most people would root for the underdog because they just like seeing chaos.
I don't enjoy seeing chaos. No, I don't.
Yeah,
enjoy
so you've
chaos.
got like an opposite. Because I would say that if I've got two teams that like I would put in the nth and deck tier, I would just want the one that I think is like if T1 were playing against BBL. I don't want BBL.
Well, I think this is coming from like 7 years of doing, my job is to be analyzing esports. Yeah. Anytime an upset result happens, that is a genuine upset result. I'm not saying you just got something wrong. I mean a serious upset result. It makes your job so much harder because not only do you have to set the expectations of like, this was actually a real upset result, but then you have to explain why the upset happened, what the chances of it were like in the first place. that kind of thing. So I like it when it's all nice and simple and I don't have to think too hard, and the teams that are good are just good and the teams that are bad are just bad. So normally I like a team like Vitality because they're a super team and they win a lot and they won in EMEA, and so that's good. But unfortunately, when I was watching them at Bangkok, I was sat there and I was like, I don't have any reason to want to root for this team. It feels like rooting for Manchester United, glory supporting when I was like 9 years old, and the people around me are like, "Oh, Man U are the best team in the world," or something, because they got Rooney and Giggs or whoever the fuck was on the team at the time. I have no idea.
Yes, Rooney and Giggs.
But it feels like that. And while I do like watching good Valorant, they haven't demonstrated excellence yet to the point where I'm enamored with them.
They also play a style that I find that I just don't like. Like, if you're asking me, like, what style of Valorant do I like? I like big XX. This is why I love Fracture, right? I love big XX, big retakes, ton of util combo together. That's the style that I like. Vitality, I mean, half of their team is complaining about that there's too much util because they just want to walk around and shoot guns.
They were the slowest team on the attack side at Bangkok as well. Like, by a long shot, they were the slowest team on the attack side. Like, an extra 20 seconds compared to the average to plant the spike, something like that. I think the average was like 48 or 50 something seconds for them to get the spike down, which is really slow.
Yeah.
And it's very aim duel focused.
So you're broken yoke, it sounds like. Are you that down on them, or are you still willing to go neutral?
I do love watching Durka rip through people, but at the moment, I'm fairly neutral, I think.
Okay, we'll put him in Anton deck. I guess with the if the Trex rumors are, I mean, the fact that they're even rumors gives you some level of doubt, I suppose, for this team. I suppose them. What I mean, overachieving, I guess, is what, winning an international at this point. Or is that just achieving?
I'm not sure that
more than that.
Over. I think they would have to do. I think they'd at least have to win again in EMEA and win an international to be. And even then, I'm not sure that that's overachieving.
I mean, so that's probably then we have to put them in underachieved then, surely.
Yeah,
they're much more likely to not do that. I'd say
the expectations are just so high.
Okay, your favorite team?
I do like this team. To me, they're a summer breeze. And the reason that they're a summer breeze, let me sell you on the soft summer's breeze here.
I mean, I don't care about XLG at all, so this is going wherever you put them.
All right, well then, let me see if I can make you care about this team.
Okay, go on.
When you tune into Chinese games, so often you're getting a TYLOO or a Tech, or maybe even on a good day, you're getting a Billy, somebody who plays silly Valorant all the time, and you're like, all right, well, sure, this is going to be like an upset team if they make it to an international tournament. But where's the learning that you're getting? You know what I mean? Like, how have you been? Where is the development from China? Where is we are learning the game and getting better, and every year we're going to put on better and better performances. And Sheila Gaming, to me, are hard evidence. They are like the fucking fossil records of evolution within China, because they are the Ascension team, and you would expect a team that's coming from the tier 2 level to the tier 1 level to actually be one of the teams that's furthest behind in China, because they've got some of the least experience. They haven't been to any of the international events. But actually, in terms of their game plans and in terms of what they try to put together, now, recent performances, they've been meddling with the Waylay and it hasn't looked that great. But what they've done throughout kickoff, throughout some of the stuff towards the end of last year as well, in off-season tournaments and stuff, they've actually been playing some sensible stuff. They look like Trace, where they're playing good ideas and they're trying to execute on the good ideas. And yes, they're still going to lose to EDG and Billy, who have better players and can find the timings past what they're doing and punish them. But they demonstrate, again, like the fucking fossil records in the sedimentary rocks, that there is evolution happening in China. And once good players start picking up the better ideas from teams like Shilai, then we're going to start to have some serious breakout teams in the region like EDG. It's not just going to be a one-team region. Maybe it won't be Shilai. Maybe they're the fucking, the pterodactyl that is required to fly before the birds can take off as well. But they're going to be, they're the precursor. They're the missing link between messy China and excellent China in the future, because there is going to be a period of excellence that's coming, and this is an important part of the fossil record.
Okay, I mean that's a perfectly good, reasonable, explanation of why to care about XLG. With that said, do you think, with your love of this team, are they likely to over or underachieve?
My perspective of them, like,
Yes.
are they going to over or underachieve what I think they're going to do? Well, I've got high hopes, so it's all.
I don't think most people would have high hopes. So with that said, I'm gonna put them in over for you because, I mean,
Yeah,
you just did talk
just
for like
hope.
a good solid 2 minutes about XLG. So I feel like for that alone,
I like him.
We can. Oh, that wasn't meant to happen. What have I just done? Right click? I did. I just made a new tab by accident. Anyway,
You have right click bound to.
no, I don't. I
new
must have
tab.
pressed something else as well. I don't know. It just created a new tab. I don't know why. Anyway, Wolves. We know where Wolves are going on this list. Now, this started off, you kind of gave a little example of like, at first it was kind of a meme. I would say the same thing has happened for me, for you to Karmine Corp, for me for Wolves.
Yeah.
Because this just did start out as like, oh, Wolves are playing in China, VCT China. That's strange and kind of funny.
Yeah.
I can merge my two worlds here and merge football with Valorant. And so I just started doing it. And then, but now it's like I actively root for this team. I don't root, by the way, a lot of people think that I'm a Wolves football fan. I'm not a Wolves. I'm not from Wolverhampton.
Yeah,
either.
you are.
No, I'm not. I don't live even that close to Wolves. I'm not from Nottingham either. Although I am going to Nottingham today, but I'm not from there.
There we go.
But yeah, obviously it's kind of turned into a meme, and now I guess, I mean, they are my and your, Josh, local team in Valorant.
I don't know about that one. I don't know about
why.
That
who's closer to you, if not Wolves?
But Wolves are based in China. They're not based in Wolves.
But they're partly based in Wolves as well. They're literally named after a place in England.
Which are the UK orgs? Is it only Fnatic?
Fnatic.
That claims to be a UK org.
Liquid are like partly, aren't they? But not fully.
Oh, I think they're Netherlands. I think they normally represent Netherlands.
Okay. Well, then I guess Fnatic would be your local team, and our local team, if that is the case. Are Wolves likely to over or underachieve? I think they're likely to. I mean, I think they're likely to overachieve, but I decided for XLG.
I would say the expectations of this team are based on the roster quality.
Yeah.
And at the start of the year, we thought that they were actually going to be a good roster. Now, based on what they did at kickoff, they're going to do better than that. I mean, that was just abominable at kickoff. But
the last game they played was actually pretty good. There was a fake comeback at the end. They kind of choked. But for the most part, apart from like the fake comeback at the end of map 2, I would say they actually played pretty well. And looked
if
like
Wolves made it to an international tournament, I'd be willing to say that that's overachieving for them. Do you think they're actually going to make it to an international?
I think they actually have a decent chance. Because I think if Trace aren't very good, I think if Trace continue to be bad, then it is actually quite open. So yeah, I'm going to put them there. And then finally, last but not least, a team with an interesting history. A team that you have a history with, Josh. Zeta Division.
I would like to say that I hate this org, but I don't. I just dislike them. And the reason that I dislike them, it would be funnier if I hated them. But I just dislike them. And the reason that I dislike the team, or like the org and the teams that they've had over the years in general, is because they were just a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
They were. And we knew that they were a flash in the pan. And yet so much was made out of it. A mountain was made out of a molehill that nobody wants to hear me gloat about the fact that Zeta are shit now. You know what I mean? I would be well within my rights to bring it back up and be like, we always knew Zeta were crap. But it feels like punching down very heavily.
It does.
Because the org it's sad. Like I said before with DFM, it is sad that Japan has such a passionate fan base and they're being served poo on a regular basis by the teams that they have. And I really thought that Zeta might be able to turn things around. Maybe... So, like, they made 4th. I think they won LCQ and they made it to champs in 23.
Yeah.
And then in 24, they made a couple of roster moves. Oh, maybe this is going to do something. Nope, no. They looked dreadful, actually. Way worse than 2023. Oh, this year they've made some changes. Maybe this year's the year. Oh, it's looking bad again. It's a cycle of shit. And if they were better, then maybe I'd hate them more because it wouldn't feel like punching down as much. But at the moment, it just feels like kicking a toddler if I was to be rude again to Zeta Division. So I'd have them in the broken yoke.
Okay, I mean that makes sense. And yeah, it's kind of tough with Zeta because it is funny. You're right. Like people did make that Zeta run. It's like lives in the minds of like if you have been watching Valorant for a decent while, that Zeta run is like just embedded into the scene of like if you were there, you know about the Zeta run. Like I would say that Zeta's run is more well remembered than FBX winning Copenhagen.
Yes, absolutely. Or Acend winning champions.
Yeah.
And yet they still had the same level of...
They didn't even go to Copenhagen. They didn't even make the next international.
Yeah. Zeta were more of a fluke than either of those. And people talk about those as being, like one-time events or misremembered events.
So, I mean, I guess that I would probably put them in Anthem Deck, but you're putting them in a Broken Yoke.
Yeah, they've got to go in Broken Yoke for me.
But they have to be an overachieve as well because... No,
they don't. I think
they're like the worst Pacific team.
I don't think they did at the start of the year. I think most people were saying that Boom was the worst.
You spent too much time with Wyatt. Is your problem?
No. I really think most people were expecting Boom to be the worst because they got in on a freebie, and I think that the level that Zeta have underperformed, even if the placements are only small, even if we thought they were going to be 11th or 10th and they're actually 12th. The actual reality of we thought Zeta were going to be competing for something. We thought they had an outside chance of being able to make it to playoffs, and at the moment they just look abominable. Like they look like a slam dunk 12th place team.
Yeah.
And we would have them at I think they've already underperformed, and I see no reason to think they're going to do better.
Okay, well, I mean, there it is. If you've ever wondered, like, where the bias truly lies, if you ever want to know, like, should I trust TMV and Sideshow's takes on this team? Well, if they're at the top here, probably not. And if they're at the bottom, also probably not. If they're somewhere in the middle, then we probably have a somewhat balanced view. I just want to end with one.
Or don't care.
Yeah, or
some of the one in the middle, we just don't care.
We literally don't care about these at all. We're just going to end here with one final thing, which is what I've started doing, which is asking a question from my old radio show whilst I was at university. We used to ask hypothetical questions. And the question for this week's Sideshow, for you, is, if you could know your death date, would you want that information? All you get is the date. You don't get how it happens, but you know for 100% you will die on that day. Do you want that information or not?
Immediately my instant thought is that no, I wouldn't want that kind of information. I fear that it would add worry, anxiety, etc. I think it would be a unavoidable human impulse to try to alter it, even if you knew with unavoidable certainty that it was going to happen. You would try to lock yourself up in the room or whatever. But perhaps you would even hasten your demise by choosing to end your life in a less painful way than one that you might imagine, and therefore bring about the death date. Do you know what I mean? But I would say that if you can take some of the emotional baggage out of the situation, it's only beneficial to do so. Yes. The more people that rely on you, the more people that you are responsible for, the more it becomes almost even an obligation to take the knowledge there of the date that you're going to die, because it lets you set your affairs in order, lets you make sure that everybody's cared for, lets you realize perhaps, listen, if I'm going to die in 3 weeks from now, the fuck am I doing on the Acend podcast? Right? I should be out there spending time with my loved ones, right? I'm wasting my time right here, right now. But if I'm going to die at the age of 90, I've got time to spend on frivolous activities like this. So yeah, I think I would take it. But this is in a world where I could be convinced with 100% certainty that it was real. And unfortunately, I think the premise just falls apart there.
Well,
The hypothetical is so ludicrous because I would simply never believe something like that. If somebody came up to me and said with 100% certainty, I don't think there's any amount of evidence that they could give me to make me believe
what if like you literally saw God and God somehow showed you that they were God and
but again, what would the evidence for that even be?
I don't know. They flew you out to space and flew you back, and then was like, look at this. I'll just create a planet. You want me to shoot a star across the sky? Here you go. Oh, here's another one. You know, like it started doing stuff that you would have to think like,
And why would I believe that my own experience was valid in that situation if I couldn't corroborate it with anybody else?
Let's say you
why
could.
would I believe that I hadn't
let's
just
say,
had
let's
some
say
kind
you
of
could.
hallucination?
Let's say you could.
Right, so this has happened to many people at once. It's either an entire collective delusion and hallucination, or it's reality, and we must accept it.
Or like again, like they start shooting stars across the sky, and then on the news you see like, oh, massive shooting stars seen, unexpected shooting stars seen in the sky, and like, oh, it was on.
And I also then have to make the assumption that this omniscient being is not only omniscient and all powerful, but then I also have to make the assumption that it's not gonna trick me or lie to me. I have to know in some way that it's gonna be telling the truth. There's so many different layers that I'd have to believe. I would just simply, I would discard it offhand.
Okay, well, it's a hypothetical question. It's not going to happen, I agree. But you have got to the correct answer. You have got to the correct answer, because I think that most people's initial impression is the answer should be no. And if I changed it and said that you could know how you're going to die, you definitely don't want that information, because then you will end, like if it says you're going to die in a car crash, well, you're just going to try and avoid going in the car, but you know, you still will inevitably die there, you know, either way. So that would like, you definitely don't want that information, but you do want the death date for what you pointed out, that it's either going to say tomorrow, and then obviously you're going to have a better last day than you would have otherwise, or it's going to say a year, and you're not, like if it says 5 years, for instance, you know, you're not going to have kids if you did want kids, you know, because if you're going to die when they're 5, you know, that'd be a bit harsh. Like, you know, you're going to, like you said, you're going to get your affairs in order. Most likely it's going to say 87, you know, or for Sideshow.
I don't know. I'm from the Northeast. It's probably going to say like
67,
you know, 60 or something, which for me, according to people on the internet, is next year.
Yes. So I think the answer should be yes. I agree with you. Although, of course, you turn this into classic just distrust of everything and everyone around you. You know, it's let them in. Let trust into your heart, Sideshow. Believe in others.
It's not about believing in others. It's about believing in your own experiences. You know, I think, therefore I am. René Descartes summoned it down to the only things that we can ever know.
You're a very cynical man, I would say, in general. I mean, I would say I am as well, to be honest. But
me, Diogenes, living in pots and jerking off on the streets.
I think it's a... Hopefully the second part of that isn't true. But thank you for being here, Mr. Show. It's been a wonderful experience. We've exposed ourselves, I think, in some way, and our bias towards certain Valorant teams. So. We can never undo that. I'm sure when people say like, "Oh, you're just hating on, you know, gentle mates because you."
Well, now there's proof, isn't there?
Yeah, there's proof. So yeah, thank you for being here. This was episode whatever it was I said at the start of Cosmic Divide. I'm not as a professional host as you just yet, Josh. That's perhaps the one area of life that you are semi-successful.
Wow, thank you. I love the way that you gas up your hosts as you exit. That's really kind of you, giving your guests a chance to flourish.
Yes, no problem. Thanks for being here, everyone. Have a nice day, and hopefully that death date isn't today.